Board of Education to order on Thursday, May the 4th, 2023. Good evening, everyone. As we begin this meeting, it's important to pay respect to and acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Ohlone, Costanoan, and Esselen people, and additionally pay respect to elders both past and present. Mandy, can we have a roll call, please?
I'll be starting it for this evening. Nope, are you there?
Sorry, Ralph.
Okay, you go for it.
President Swanson.
Here.
Clerk McNary.
Here.
Trustee Otmar.
Here.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Here.
Dr. Hazen.
Here.
Superintendent Porras.
Here.
Assistant Superintendent Jorn.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mandy. I'm going to announce for the record that this meeting is being conducted pursuant to California Government Code Section 54953B concerning teleconferencing of meetings. Board member Dr. Elliot Hazen is participating in this meeting by speakerphone from Upham Hotel, 1404 De La Vina Street, Santa Barbara, California, 93101. In accordance with the Brown Act, this location has been identified on the agenda for this meeting. I would now like to ask board member Dr. Hazen to respond to the following questions. Are you able to hear our proceedings on this end?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of the agenda for this meeting?
Yes.
Has the agenda been posted at your location?
Yes.
Is your location such that any member of the public could participate in the public portions of this teleconference meeting from your location?
Yes.
Members of the board, are you able to hear board member Dr. Hazen?
Yes.
Okay, seeing everyone nodding their head in agreement. Thank you. Because we are having a meeting today with teleconferencing, all actions this evening will be by roll call vote. Next up is adoption of the agenda. Ralph, any changes? Hi.
Hi. Good evening, Madam President. Yes, we just have a couple notations for you. We have two walk-on items that we've already provided copies for you on the board and have been posted online. The first walk-on is for contract for services with Shake It Up bartending for the PGHS event coming up due to lack of being able to get the fingerprints clearance for some other items. And then a walk-on contract for services with Psyched Ed Services, and that's also been provided for you. Both of those came last minute just because they're last minute items. Other than that, we have two revisions for you that are noted as well. Consent item H, the lease agreement with the waive, and a modification, and the revised certificate assignment order number 16 had a revision that killed late in coming. Again, those are provided for you in the folder. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. And board, as far as the walk-ons go, in placement on the agenda, are you comfortable with that, with us addressing those right after consent agenda? Yes. Okay. Seeing everyone nod their head in agreement, that is where I will place them. Okay, that's good. I also have a quick question about our lovely attorney here, Lou Lozano. He was asking if the board would prefer him to be here for the superintendent search process item, which is action item C, I think. So board, would you like him to be here for that, or would you like to dismiss him after closed session?
I would love for Lou to be here.
Okay. Anyone, any majority against Lou being here? No. Okay.
I don't have
Lou, can you please be here during open session? Okay, thank you so much for that. Okay, any board questions or comments on the agenda? Dr. Hazen?
Nope, no comments from me. I sent all my questions in. Thank you.
Okay, and any public comment? All right, Lewis has let me know that there's no one online looking to comment, and I don't see anyone here in public going up to the podium. So we will move on to a roll call vote for the adoption of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve this?
I'll move to adopt the agenda with the addition of the two walk-on items.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Clerk McNary, seconded by Trustee Otmar. And the motion was to adopt the agenda, including the two walk-on items. Roll call vote, please.
President Swanson,
Aye.
Clerk McNary,
Aye.
Dr. Hazen,
Aye.
Trustee Otmark,
Aye.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to the next part of our agenda, which is where we identify closed session topics. The Board of Education will meet in closed session to consider matters appropriate for closed session in accordance with Education and Government Code. So this evening we have 8 items on the closed session agenda. The first one is negotiations related to planning and preparation for a PGTA. The second one is negotiations related to planning and preparation with CSEA. The third is public employee discipline dismissal release complaint. The fourth is negotiations with unrepresented potential employee. The fifth is planning and preparation, meet and confer with classified confidential. Number 6, planning and preparation, meet and confer with management. Number 7, planning and preparation. It just says adult school. Number 8, conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation. Do we have any public comment on closed session topics? Okay, Lewis is letting me know no one is online looking to make a public comment, and I don't see anyone coming up to the podium in person either. So with that, we're going to adjourn to closed session. Thank you. Guys, on that
Meeting is being recorded.
natural silence that just happened. 1 second. Thank you all for being here. It's actually 6:29, so I'm going to give it about 30 more seconds before I call us to order because we start at 6:30. But thank you all for coming. We've got some really interesting things on the agenda tonight, including the Seal of Biliteracy presentation and a music presentation, all near the top of the meeting. So in about 30 seconds, we will start officially. Thank you all. Just kidding. It is now 6:30. Thank you all for being here. We are reconvening an open session. And this is a regular school board meeting for the Pacific Grove Unified School District on Thursday, May 4th, 2023. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to report the action taken in closed session. So first of all, we had number 1, negotiations related to planning and preparation with PGTA. Information was given. Number 2, negotiations regarding planning and preparation with CSEA. Information was given. Number 3, public employee discipline dismissal release complaint. No information was given. Number 4, negotiations with unrepresented potential employee. No direction was given. Number 5, planning and preparation, meet and confer classified confidential. Information was given to the board. Number 6, planning and preparation, meet and confer management. Information was given to the board. Number 7, planning and preparation, meet and confer adult school. Information was given to the board. And the last item, number 8, conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation. We did a vote in closed session. There was a motion by Trustee Brian Swanson, a second by Clerk McNary, and a unanimous vote to accept settlement agreement. With that, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Next on our agenda is actually a presentation regarding the State Seal of Biliteracy. And I believe Director Rokeman is making his way up to the podium. And so it's all yours. Thank you.
Good evening, trustees. Buck Rogeman, the Director of Curriculum and Special Projects. And it's my distinct honor tonight to help recognize a group of students who benefited from some of the action that you took earlier this year. As you all know, California has what's called the State Seal of Biliteracy. And for the past 8 years, PG has been a proud participant in the program, with about 10 students earning that seal by passing the AP exam with a score of 3 or better. This year, the department worked together to provide another pathway for students to earn this seal. And it's through taking a local test. It's the stamp test that you approved as part of the contract for services that have come through your way. And the result is that in the past, having averaged around 10 students that earned that seal, this year we're going to have 21. That there were 16 students that took advantage of the exam to earn that seal. And with that, I'd like to turn it on to Dr. Hadquist so he can tell you a little bit about the process that the high school went through.
Hello, trustees. I just wanted to share with you a little bit about what the World Language Department did to arrive at this wonderful achievement of 21 students earning the State Seal of Biliteracy. Today at our faculty meeting, I spoke to the staff about the professional learning community, the PLC process. As you may know, next year, we have a new bell schedule at the high school, and we have more time carved out for professional learning communities. I reviewed with the staff the pillars of the PLC process as outlined by the Dufour and Eaker framework for professional learning communities. That framework notes 6 pillars. 1 is a shared mission and vision. 2 is a collaborative culture. 3 is collective inquiry into best practice and current reality. 4 is action orientation, or learning by doing. 5 is commitment to continuous improvement. And 6 is a results orientation. And I just want to say that working over the last few months with the World Language Department, what they did embodied all of these pillars. The shared mission and vision came from a new member of the department, Mr. Jason Bainbridge, who had some experience with the stamp test at his prior school, and had the vision to connect this stamp test to a metric that you will all see, which is college and career readiness, because the State Seal of Biliteracy is one of the feeders of the college and career readiness metric. He brought that to the department and myself, and collaborative culture. We worked together. Some of the discussions were very challenging, but we embraced that idea that we like to work through challenging discussions. Collective inquiry into best practice. Much research was done into what other districts were doing with regard to the stamp test and how they were arriving at cut points and things like that. An action orientation, or learning by doing. The World Language Department, I can't tell you how many times we thought, like, we've never done this before. This is brand new, and it was actually quite nerve-wracking, but we made it through, met all the deadlines. 5, commitment to continuous improvement. I can tell you right now, the World Language Department is already talking about how we can maybe up the rigor, how we can use this assessment to measure our progress in the future. It is a commitment to improvement that's already apparent. Finally, a results orientation. We're here today because there are some results to celebrate. Before we announce the students, I want to recognize the World Language Department members, Miss Margot Samuels, Miss Desma Johnson, and Mr. Jason Bainbridge. And the department chair, Ms. Samuels, is going to read the list of students who have earned the State Seal of Biliteracy and will be wearing this medal at graduation, along with a seal that they will have on their diploma.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to honor and recognize 21 students. Please stand up as I call your name. Emilia Abad, Youssef Alcala. Samantha Barragan. Jacob Burkett. Maria Cabrera. Will Cohen. Zane Kutz. Mackenzie Erickson. Anastasia Gabrick. Kai Halton. Percy Hatfield. Gabrielle Katz. Grace Lyons. Maria Moore. Ryan Mulholland. Mathilde Romano. Alexis Rodas Mendoza. Nora Schramm. Isabella Tamiz. Andrea Valdivia Moncada. And Anthena Walling.
Was told that we were going to do a picture.
Board members, would you like to?
Maybe
Jump back in here.
Absolutely, sure. Have you concluded your presentation?
I've concluded my
Okay,
presentation.
yeah, so we have two options. We can either all stand here in front of the dais, which is a fancy word for this huge table, or we can go outside near the flagpole, and if whatever you all
Let's
choose.
do it right up here.
Okay, sounds great.
Yeah, you gotta get in here. What are you doing? Trying to escape. You gotta get out of here.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Hi, Nice.
Every
What
day.
time is it at?
Great. Mr. Kelly.
Literally running. Yeah.
Ready? How about 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay.
I've already tripped on it.
All right, after such a wonderful opening, thank you all for coming tonight. You've made our whole evening by being here, and thank you for the work you've done. Thank you so much. Okay, now we're going to move on to our communications portion of our meeting. I'm thankful that we do still have some folks here, so thank you for staying. I'm going to read off written communications, which is a part of the board meeting where the board is very transparent and lets folks know what emails we have received. So I will go ahead. And first one is I got an email from the California Elected Guide information wanting to confirm candidate information. I got a response to a PRA request. I got an invitation to honors night and promotion at the middle school, an email about Saturday choir and its importance. I got a really neat email from a teacher related to poetry competition. And I'm going to read the names of the students that they were highlighting in that email, because I think it's so important when our students achieve things. Maram Haddad, Dia Gupta Limus, Samson Jenner, and Haley Atkinson were mentioned in that email. I got an email from Community Human Services Board regarding their retreat. I got an email regarding a doctor's on duty authorization. An email, Pacific Grove High School Art Award winners from Mr. Kelly, and I apologize, the teacher that we got the poetry competition email from was Miss Lukfar. Mr. Kelly wanted to highlight following students: Sophia Spivey, Sophia Schultz, Alana Leonard, Faith Jennings, Janica Soro, Charlotte Deegan, Vivian Ming, Lauren Braunfeld, and Sophia Rudoni. I also got an email from Community Human Services regarding their audit committee, an invitation to Falcon Fest, a Monterey Peninsula Community College Governing Board evaluation survey, an email related to missed school days, an email related to school safety protocols, email related to a workshop follow-up that our board had on April 28th. And lastly, an email regarding Pacific Grove Unified School District Network System Security. So at this time, board members, do you have any emails to add to that list? Trustee Brian?
Just reminding us about May 9, what day is it? Yeah, it's not May 9 yet, spring concert at middle school. And June 3 PG Pops, also not directly related to the district, but some of the kids in the district and former students in the district play at that's taking place at the middle school too. And that's, you covered everything else that I have.
Student trustee Avila, any board emails you received?
Still just pretty much receiving the homework updates from Google Classroom. So that's about it. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you. Trustee Dr. Hazen online, any emails?
Yes, two quick ones. Just one asking about the status of the city and school board committee that we voted on a few board meetings ago, and another email quickly about the status of the skate park.
Okay, thank you. Clerk McNary? Nothing? Trustee Otmar?
I have nothing more than that.
All right, thank you all so much. Next up is what we call board member comments, which is where we go around the table and we comment on things. And actually, in lieu of tonight's packed schedule, I'm going to forfeit my comment time to the entire meeting. So I'm going to skip myself. Student trustee Avila, do you have anything?
Yeah, just really quickly. I think the biggest thing was today we had an assembly that the PTA put on. So big thanks to them. We had a guest speaker, a PG alumni. Actually, she graduated in 2010. I believe Chelsea Hill was a victim of a pretty bad car crash and came and shared a really powerful story with us, with the whole school. So that was really neat, really eye-opening. Other than that, school year is pretty much just wrapping up, getting ready for prom, getting ready for all those end of the year festivities. As far as sports go, sports are also wrapping up. Baseball season is ending next week. So are the others. I know the Masters for track and field are about to go on, if not already. Lacrosse had a game today at Carmel. Softball had a game today, a big game against Stevenson. Yeah, it's okay. Always tough battle against Stevenson. That's one we want to win, but fun game nonetheless, I bet. Made it to a couple softball games this year. They're really fun. A lot of crowd attendance, so makes for a fun atmosphere. And that's about it.
Well done. Trustee Dr. Hazen.
No comments from me. Thank you.
Okay, Clerk McNary.
The only thing I wanted to mention is I got to go see Mamma Mia at the high school and the show was awesome. The students are really incredible performers. The songs were fun. It was such a positive show. It was really fun going home to listen to my little kids singing the songs in other rooms when they were not paying attention. We have all been like Mamma Mia soundtrack all week. So I know that's running again this week and there's going to be a sing along for one of the shows. So if anybody gets a chance, totally worth the time. That's it.
Thank you for reminding us. Trustee Otmar.
Nothing from me.
Okay, trustee Brian Swanson.
Super quick. because I know we didn't get a chance to talk about the biliteracy seal. That just is so amazing to me.
Mhm.
And I thought it was 16, but it's actually was 21 students, which just, my mind was blown. It was 16 and now it's
know.
at 21. And I'm just so encouraged by what we're seeing in the district. You know, my kids were beneficiaries of the language program, but it feels like it's so much more amped up now too. And I'm looking forward to that number next year being even greater. This time of the year for me too is so exciting because you get to see, you know, people are getting awards, and, you know, for the seniors, it's just like they're this close now. And this guy, yeah, I know it's not your last meeting, so I'll save it, but what an incredible young person we have at the dais here with us. And we've been really fortunate to have you here this year too. So I will stop.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, trustee Brian. Okay, and with that, superintendent comment / report.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a couple quick items. First off, I want to just extend my appreciation and thanks to all of the staff members who helped organize the open houses that we saw last week and the honor night at the middle school. I had a chance to be there as a staff member and as a parent, so it was doubly fun. And the staff just did an amazing job. Always come out making it feel very special for all the students and the families. So I want to acknowledge all of our staff members. And then I was going to mention anyway, but thank you, Dr. Hazen, for bringing it up. We did connect with the city regarding the committee meeting, as I mentioned that we would do. And so they're looking forward to getting some dates ready to go for next year. And Ben Harvey, as the city manager, will be looking forward to that communication, and we'll get those set up and then get it moving from there. So it's still on course and in the works. So, and I'll defer to the agenda the rest of the time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, this next part of our meeting is where we hear from the public, members of the public desiring to address the board on items that are not on our agenda. So if anyone is here tonight, we're going to start with PGUSD staff comments. I'm just going to read a short disclaimer so that you have kind of an idea of how this will work. So public comment on any item of interest to the public that is within the board's jurisdiction will be heard. The board will also take public comment on each specific action item prior to the board action within the agenda. Any individual wishing to comment on a specific item on the current agenda are kindly asked to wait until that item is being discussed. The board will allow a reasonable amount of time for public comment on each agenda item not to exceed 3 minutes per speaker and no more than 20 minutes per agenda item pursuant to board policy 9323. And with that, if there's any PGUSD staff members, either online or in person, who would like to comment, please either raise your hand online or come on up to the podium here in person. And we will alternate between online and in person. And looks like Mr. Sean Keller is first up for a podium comment. So please.
Good evening, board. Sean Keller, principal at Robert Down. And I just wanted to remind the community and our board and any audience members that this is the last chance to buy a brick. I've extended the purchasing until next Friday, May 12th, just because it's good old days and we know some people might be interested. But I do have forms if you're interested in one tonight. And yeah, put something down for kids and I'll give you one. And it should be a great opportunity just to make our campus safer. And we should be installing them this summer. So that's about it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Feel free to give a flyer out to each member of the board, and then is Mandy here in person in the back? I can't see. She's in the backpack. Okay. Any documentation given to the board gets scanned and put online for the public to see as well. And Mr. Keller, if a person were to have purchased the bricks like 2 years ago, how do they check to make sure that brick, should that person just email you?
We only started selling them about a year ago.
Okay, maybe it was a year ago.
Yeah, it just feels like COVID changed everything.
It felt like 6 years ago. Okay, thank you.
I have the list.
You do?
And they can just
Am I on
contact
it?
me.
It's me.
I will check for you.
Okay. thank
Okay,
you.
I will check for you online during the meeting. I'll let you know. about the
Okay, that would
meeting.
be excellent. Thank you. I
Just reach out to me. Anyone in the audience, please just reach out to me. No
Okay,
problem.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you for that. Okay, we have someone online. We have Mr. Shane Steinbeck who would like to comment. Please go ahead, Mr. Shane Steinbeck.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. I can't turn on my video, but that's okay. Ray had mentioned Chelsea Hill, and I just want to tell everyone how impactful it was today. My 16 years at the high school, I've never seen, 536 kids just hands, on their face, leaning in and listening to Chelsea's message today. It was extremely impactful. Ray had mentioned that she had graduated in 2010. She was one of my students, just a lovely person. And so I was just so happy the way she was able to come in and present her message in a way that our students really took in. And I also wanted to publicly thank Carrie Serpa and Zoe Roach as well, because they were the drivers of getting Chelsea into the school today. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for that bright spot, Shane Steinbeck. Anyone else here in person who's a PGUSD staff member who would like to comment? You are warmly welcomed to do so, please. Okay, I'm going to move on now to community members who would like to speak. So we'll do the same, alternating between online and in person. Oh, wonderful. We have someone approaching the podium. Ms. Hakeem, thank you so much for being here.
So this is real quick because the choir is performing right now. But I said I'd be here, so keep it up. Hi, my name is Dina and I'm here to save our Saturday choir. Tonight, I like to talk about engagement and loneliness. U.S. Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy released an advisory Tuesday addressing the epidemic of loneliness and isolation affecting the country and laying out a framework for a national strategy to advance social connection. Kids especially are involved with their devices and screen time. You have a wonderful opportunity with Saturday Choir, which already involves students in a real world activity where they make tangible connections and engage their brain. As the students themselves have so passionately told you, this choir is our family, our safe space. They are telling you that the kids in this program are their people. This Saturday choir that already exists, that has been lovingly curated by Michelle Boulware, already fits the criteria outlined by Dr. Murthy. And again, they want to be there. They show up and wake up early on Saturday mornings. Why reinvent the wheel? Although a choir during the school week would be great, for many reasons, it also does not work for a number of students. Keep the Saturday choir and provide funding that would allow the program to succeed. If we reimagine this class as a club, it would require funding to get it started and to allow it to have the same reach as it previously did. Saturdays provide flexibility and allow students the opportunity to try the arts. However, we would have to institute a club fee to keep our director. If this has to be done this year at this late date, provide funding to help us succeed at keeping a successful program that works. Increase the faculty advisor stipend to help to make our job as parents always trying to meet the shortfalls easier. Please save our Saturday choir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Hakeem. Thank you. All right, any community members online? Oh, great. We have one person online. Looks like Mr. or Dr. Gibbs. Go ahead,
Hi, I
please.
can't wait to hear the choir. I just make it very short. I'd ask the board and the staff to stand up and do the right thing, put the kids first. They're doing a magnificent job. They show up on their own time. We spoke to several of them at the last board meeting. And so give them every possibility they've got to do what they need to do and shine and show their talent. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gibbs. Anyone else here in person or online would like to speak on any item that is not on the agenda? You're welcome to do so now. Lewis is letting me know that there's no one online and I don't see anyone here in person either. So I'm going to move on right now. It's 6:56. And so I believe our music presentation will be at about 7:30. So I'm just going to continue on. We'll circle back to the music presentation on the agenda, but for now we're going to move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is kind of a bucket, if you will, of agenda items that we approve all at once, unless there is a community member or a trustee who would like to pull something and discuss it further. So consent agenda wise, I'm going to start with trustee Dr. Hazen. Do you have anything you'd like to discuss or pull from the consent agenda?
No questions, nothing to pull. Thank you.
Okay, Clerk McNary.
Nothing to pull. A question on consent E, which was our donations page. the cost of a bus for the middle school choir was covered by a teacher. And as far as donations go, is that accurate?
Correct. They did a fundraiser to raise funds for the payment of the bus. So not specifically from the teacher, but from the fundraiser.
Got it. Is there any way we can loop travel costs like that into the budget for next year? This may be a bigger discussion, but just throwing it out there.
Yeah, so each site has their own site budget that we develop, and within the site budget, they have planned trips. I believe in this case, and I could be corrected, but I do believe in this case, they had a couple of planned trips that did come to fruition, and then there was one more that may or may not, and that's why they did the fundraiser for this trip.
Got it. Thank you for the clarification. I have nothing else.
Thank you. Thank you for the answer, Assistant Superintendent Jordan. Trustee Otmar, anything on consent?
I had some questions about fingerprinting, of course. They were answered, and so I have nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Trustee Brian Swanson.
No questions tonight. Thank you.
Okay, and I have no questions regarding the consent agenda, but does student trustee Avila?
Not tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to go out to the public and see if there's any public comment or concern with the consent agenda. You can raise your hand online or come up in person to the podium. And I'm just going to give that like a healthy 5 seconds and we'll see if anyone raises their hand. Okay, I don't see anyone online and I don't see anyone in person. So in order to move forward with the consent agenda, I would just need a motion and a second, please.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Excellent. Motion made by Clerk McNary, seconded by Trustee Otmar. Mandy, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Student Advisory,
Aye.
President Swanson,
Aye.
Clerk McNary,
Aye.
Dr. Hazen.
Aye.
Trustee Otmar,
Aye.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Now we have 2 walk-on items. The first one is from a vendor, Psych Ed, and I believe Claire Davies is the one presenting this item, and it should be in the blue folder for trustees. Have mine. All right, I'm going to go in the lobby and get another copy. I'll be right back. Director Davies, you can start speaking if you like.
Good evening, everyone. In this agenda item, we need to assess a student during the month of June. And so we would like to contract with Psych Ed Services for a psychoeducational assessment for this student so that we can make our offer of free and appropriate public education for the student by the end of June for the 23-24 school year.
Thank you, Director Davies. I'll go around and see if any board members have any questions or comments or concerns. Clerk McNary?
No, nothing from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Otmar?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Brian Swanson?
No questions. Thank you.
I also do not have any questions. Student Trustee Avila?
No questions. Thank you.
And Trustee Dr. Hazen online.
No comments from me.
All right, thank you. If we have any public comment on this walk-on item for special education services, please do raise your hand online or come up to the podium in person. Seeing none. Can we get a motion and a second on this item, please?
I will move for approval of the contract for, I kept reading it psych services. It's psych ed services.
Mhm.
All right.
Correct.
But I'm moving to approve it.
Okay.
Second the motion.
Thank you. And Clerk McNary, you seconded. Okay. Motion made by Trustee Brian Swanson, seconded by Clerk McNary. Mandy, roll call vote if you don't mind.
Student Advisory,
Aye.
President Swanson,
Aye.
Clerk McNary,
Aye.
Dr. Hazen, Trustee Otmar,
Aye.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Motion passes unanimously. We're moving on now to the second and last walk-on item, which is an item for the Pacific Grove Unified High School, Pacific Grove High School. And Principal Garcia is making his way to the podium, although we may not have a ton of discussion needed. So I'm going to start with the clerk members, trustee members. Trustee Otmar, do you have any comments?
At this time, I do not, but I'll wait to hear.
Okay. Principal Garcia, anything?
Anything, well, so I am requesting that the board approve contract for Shake It Up bartending service. I know the name may bring some concerns, but this is for student-friendly beverages at our prom, which is a week from tomorrow. And we believe that this will provide a really fun opportunity for our students to enjoy the prom even more.
And alcohol-free.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And
Trust-
student-friendly.
Student friendly. Thank you so much. It's good to be nice and clear. And so Trustee Otmar, any questions or concerns?
So are they making mocktails? Is that what it is? Like shakers and mocktails, or
So-
is it?
Part of the menu is the Shirley Temples, the Roy Rogers, and there's going to be a few, mocktails on the menu, along with water and sodas, juice.
Thank you. Trustee Brian Swanson?
I so badly want to make a joke right now about Shake It Up. All I can say,
Resist.
what's that?
I said, resist.
Well,
the
I
joke.
just want to say, let's go. Yes.
Okay, good comment, Trustee Brian Swanson. I don't have any comments. I trust in the entity and I trust in Lito Garcia that this is a non-alcoholic situation. Student 100, 1000% almost, right? Okay. Student trustee Avila.
All sounds good to me. Should be a fun night. Thank you.
Absolutely. And trustee Dr. Hazen.
All 100%.
Thank you. Clerk McNary.
No, sounds like it's going to be a really fun party.
Yeah.
So enjoy all the seniors, Ray included. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And do we have any ideas or concerns from the public? If you're online, please raise your hand digitally. And if you're in person, please do feel comfortable coming up, even though we were making a little bit of light about it being non-alcoholic. It is a serious topic, and we are excited for the prom for all of our kids. Anyone here in public want to come up? And nobody online. All right, thank you all so much. After looking for public comment, can we get a motion and a second, please, for this item?
I'll move to approve the contract with Shake It Up bartending services for the prom.
I'm happy to second.
Oh, good job, Dr. Hazen. Okay, so motion made by Clerk McNary, seconded by Trustee Dr. Hazen online. Mandy, would you mind a roll call vote, please?
Student advisory,
Aye.
President Swanson,
Aye.
Clerk McNary,
Aye.
Dr. Hazen.
Aye.
Trustee Otmar,
Aye.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mandy. Motion passes unanimously. We're moving on. It's only 7:06, so we're just going to keep on going until we're graced by the presence of our lovely choir. So next up is a public hearing, and Director Rogaman is the lead on this item, and here he comes with multiple textbooks. And I'm going to open the public hearing. Oh, you're not quite ready. Go ahead.
Pass them around.
Yeah, take the big one. You're like one.
Okay, it is 7:07, which feels like a really lucky time. And so I'm going to open a public hearing.
Good evening, trustees. Buck Rogeman, the Director of Curriculum and Instruction, and it's my pleasure to bring to you another textbook adoption. This one is U.S. History America Through the Lens from Nat Geo Cengage as the publishers. The Social Studies Department all met and reviewed several publishers and books. And they landed on this one because the organization of the material was superior to the other textbooks. And it was easy access to content that also reached a sufficient level of depth. This book also was aligned with the California content standards for U.S. history, whereas the previous textbook, through an error in the delivery of the publisher, was from Texas. So we're going to have our own state standards represented in our U.S. history content moving forward. One of the things that's really nice about this textbook too, as well as the online materials that are available, is the increase in accessibility for our students. And by that, I mean that there's a lot of materials present that will allow teachers to differentiate the content based on the learning needs of the students. One of the features, if you read through the overview of the packet that it has, is the ability to toggle from a more rigorous reading level, and then for our striving readers, the lexile level of the content is reduced so that they can still understand the content, participate in those class-wide discussions on the content without feeling as though they're overwhelmed just by the amount of language that they face. Also, there is a text-to-speech element with the online program. So if students want to have this text being read to them as they're reading along in the book, they have the ability to do that. Just know from experience, some students actually like to speed up that to like twice as fast or 1.75 so that they can be reading quickly, but also be able to hear it in their head as they're reading. So multiple points of entry for, text for our students. I think that most importantly, as you start to go through the material, what you're going to notice is diverse perspectives are represented in this content. And that really is the first filter that we're looking through for all the textbook adoptions that we have. That if our district is going to stand for equity and trying to have a positive, safe, stimulating environment for all our students, one of the things we need to make sure is that multiple voices and perspectives are present in the content that they study. And this is going to represent a great upgrade for us in that manner. There is a very extensive overview in the packet. And, it's National Geographic. And so the layout of the book, the visuals that go along with it are as good as they get. I almost feel guilty having the book here at the meeting because I might just be thumbing through U.S. history rather than paying as close attention as I should. It's going to be pretty gripping. We are going to get student feedback on this book. We weren't able to do it. The teacher, Mr. Powers, plans on planning a couple lessons with the new content so the students can, experience that. And then we'll go in and do, focus group like we did with the science texts. And then we'll write a summary of the student feedback that we get and share that with the board before the final approval comes through. I think it's going to be at the June 1st meeting. I'll be happy to entertain any questions at this time.
Good description, Buck. I was really, maybe it's happened with other textbooks, but especially this one, the supplemental that was for the packet was so extensive. It was great to read up on that. So I actually don't have many questions that I usually pepper you with. So I will go on to student trustee Avila. Any questions or comments?
Not really. I think it's really cool that it's got the text to speech feature. That would have been really handy dandy last year. But yeah, I've always found National Geographic really interesting. Even they're good at, portraying their messages to people who might not be super interested in history. So they do a good job at that. So should be a nice add-on.
Appreciate that, especially coming from a student. Thank you. Trustee Avila.
Absolutely. Trustee Dr. Hazen, anything?
Yeah, just quickly, I was also want to say I'm really impressed with the textbook and that it does not gloss over some difficult subjects. So thank you for, as a department, for bringing this one forward.
Clerk McNary?
Yeah, similar from me. Thank you, Director Rogerman. I'm glad you're taking these curriculum, checking in and seeing what books need to be updated. It sounds like there may be more. This one was really outdated. And as far as history goes, that's kind of scary. I really appreciate the thorough vetting process that you're going through, and that when you've heard feedback from board members, you're incorporating that into your process moving forward. And I agree that the presentation and the information in the packet was really, really thorough. So thank you very much.
Trustee Otmar?
All of that. This is excellent. I feel like I really do want to take a book home and
I know.
I would, if you'll let me, and read through it, because just what I was reading there, I mean, it's interesting. Nat Geo it's what Ray said. I mean, even if you're not interested in history, it's interesting. So thank you. And thank you for taking into account what the students think and how they feel.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that very
And
much.
just want to make sure that we recognize the work of the social studies department at the high school. It's a great process that they're going through to choose the very best material for our students. So Ms. Gona, your group is doing a fantastic job. So thank you.
And Ms. Gaona, was there anything that you wanted to contribute to the presentation since this is your department? Okay. And Brian, I have not forgotten you.
Laura Ligona. I teach the government classes up there. Thank you for looking at this. I am actually picking up an extra section of US history next year. So I was really excited that we got to do this book, because it was quite outdated, as many of our history books are. And so we're looking at rotating in the next ones. Gov's going to be next, because they are very outdated, talking about a potential senator from Illinois who later becomes a president. But one of the really great things, we love this because for visual learners, some of us in our department are very visual learners. And so these pictures are so rich and wonderful, and it really helps learners like us remember what's on those pages that we've been reading. And it also has all of the modern bells and whistles that go with, like, changing the Lexile levels and being able to put together different types of summative and assessments for the different needs of students. So we really appreciate that Mr. Rogenman is taking the lead on this, because it's been a long time coming, and we appreciate that the district is putting forth monies to do this. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was really valuable. Trustee Brian Swanson.
Well, I think you nailed it too, with about when you're talking about the imagery. It's like I was, well, when I was even paging through it, it's like, oh, I want to read that. I want to read that. And when I was growing up, the things that always interested me about history were the things that it's like I grew up reading about rock and roll all the time and pop culture, and the imagery was always so rich. They had just such great photographers, so that they've incorporated that into this, that draws somebody like me into the other things. It's spot on. I think it's a great choice. So thank you for presenting.
Yeah, thank you so much, Buck. And now we're going to go to public comment, because it is a public hearing. And so we're hoping to hear from somebody in the public, either online. Please raise your hand digitally, or feel free to come up to the podium here in person. I'm going to give a little bit of an awkward pause here, because I really hope somebody has something they would like to say. Okay. Doesn't look like we have anyone from the public who would like to comment on these books. And Director Ogren, will you remind us, are they going to be here in the lobby for any member of the public?
They are, if I can get them away from the trustees, but yes, they are going to be here for the rest of the month of May.
Okay.
The one exception may be when our teacher wants to try to some sample lessons. We might only have the one teacher's edition, so we'll get that to them.
Thank you. Yeah. So if anyone is a little shy tonight and they want to come look at it, they're more than welcome to come to the district
Absolutely.
office and read them, or email Director Rogelman. So with that, Dr. Portas, do I need to do anything else before I close the public hearing? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:17. Exactly 10 minutes. Thank you so much. All right, so moving on to action discussion. Action item A is adoption of resolution number 1106 proclaiming May 2023 as Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Now, this one is Dr. Portas's item, so go ahead if you like.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam President. Actually, I know that Clerk McNary has been helpful in guiding us in bringing forward these resolutions. So I don't want to take away your thunder. So I don't know if you want to just introduce it or talk about it a little bit.
Sure, I requested this be placed on the agenda. May, excuse me, is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So it's a time that we formally recognize and celebrate the contributions that Asian Americans and Pacific Islander people have made, I guess locally and the US. And this resolution is a mechanism the board has to communicate with our community what we value. And so I brought it forth with that in mind. So that's it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And if anyone has the original packet, there was just a very small typo in the last paragraph. It was said 2022, but it has been updated to 2023. So we're going to go around and see if any other board members have anything to say. Trustee Otmar?
I have nothing to add. Thank you for bringing this. I appreciate that very much.
Trustee Brian Swanson?
Well, I'm thrilled it's in here. For personal reasons, but also just knowing that we're making that acknowledgement. But I am the dad of two beautiful young people from Jiangxi province. And just it warms my heart all that much more to see that we're doing this. So thank you for heading that up too.
I agree with all of those statements. Student trustee Avila, anything?
Yeah, I think this is really valuable. Two of my best friends in my friend group are from China and from the Philippines. So hearing their stories, hanging out with them and their families, hearing how their families made it over here and stuff, I think is super valuable and super interesting. So I think this is great.
I'm always impressed by your comments, increasingly impressed by your comments. Trustee Dr. Hazen?
Yep, nothing to add. Thank you so much for making sure it was on the agenda today.
Okay, we're going to go out to the public. Anyone online or in person who can summon the courage to make a comment, you are more than welcome to join us. Louis, anyone online? No one online who would like to comment, I should clarify. And it doesn't appear that anyone is in person who would like to comment. So on that, I'll make a motion to approve on staff's recommendation, the resolution proclaiming May 2023 as Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Can I get a second, please?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion made by Carolyn Swanson, seconded by Clerk McNary. Mandy, if you don't mind.
Student advisory,
Aye.
President Swanson,
Aye.
Clerk McNary,
Aye.
Dr. Hazen,
Aye.
Trustee Otmar,
Aye.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion passes unanimously. We're now moving on to action discussion item B, which is a superintendent search process. And we're lucky enough, I believe, to have Dr. Andrew in the audience and also Dr. Moreo. So thank you so much for both being here in person. Let's see here. So board, let me chat with you a moment. So this is kind of our second go round, right? We heard from both of these vendors at the previous meeting. And so tonight is the night that we hopefully decide and choose one of these vendors to move forward on the superintendent search for our district. Both of them have their full proposals in our packet. If anyone has a packet or it's also online, this is on starts on page 97. And I'll take the first stab at a question. Josh Jorn, were we able to hear back from Dr. Frazier on my question about communications?
We were not able to hear back from Dr. Frazier, but Eric
I
is
will
here.
ask Dr. Andrew then.
yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Andrew, do you mind stepping up and being the first one to get some questions asked?
Not a problem. Thank you so much for allowing to be here.
The button, green button. There
You got
There we
it.
go. All right, thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of this process. You've heard our story, but in terms of community involvement, a couple of things I want to highlight. If you take a look, I think on page 2 of your packet, when we talked about some things that Pacific Grove is proud of, it talked about community involvement. And so we wanted to really highlight that because we know how valuable that is to the group. If you take a look, I think on pages 20 of phase 2, it also talks about how we're going to reach out to the public. One, we will be here in your district and conduct focus groups with community members and your staff, et cetera, to ensure that they have proper feedback and have an opportunity. We do that typically in person because I'm a really relational person and I believe in showing up in person, getting to meet people along the way. Along with that, we also have what's called an online survey, and that allows any community member, student, staff member to participate that way as well. And here's the value of that. When we're doing our focus group, which does include students, sometimes a person will be involved and they will think, it's like being in an interview where you leave the interview and you think, oh, shoot, I should have said this. The online survey provides another opportunity for folks to go back in. The other thing the online survey does is sometimes you want to answer the 3 prompts that we provide as a teacher, let's just say. But I also want to answer it as a parent because my vision in terms of what I want to see in a superintendent could be different depending on which role I'm playing. So it gives people multiple opportunities to participate in that process. In terms of looking at how we're going to do that, we work with the board. We have a template that says, here are the people who we typically encourage you to invite. But we also say that you know your community way better than us. And so you are going to be the ones who are going to identify groups. And we encourage you to involve groups that typically maybe have had a voice in your district that you think, we need to hear more from this particular group. And so going out and giving personal invitations. In addition to that, what we will do is we will provide every couple of weeks a little update of how the search process is going. And so the community will give it to the board and the board can have the option to put it on your website to say, here's the next phase of what's happening on the search. Examples would be if on the online survey, and I use that because it's a pretty easy comment, we will say currently there are 430 people who've responded to the survey. We've also identified them as X amount were teachers, so many were classified employees, some were community members. In addition to that, we'll give you feedback to say, so far we've had 14 requests for applications. We've had 3 people turn it in. And here's kind of the dynamic of what positions they currently hold. So we will say there are 4 current sitting superintendents. There are 2 former superintendents. There are consultants. There are assistant superintendents. So you get that kind of feedback throughout the process. And so although the timeline reflects specific dates in which things will occur, there will be interaction and communication with us intermittently because we believe that we want to know from you and your community how the search is going for you.
Thank you so much. And so, for example, tonight, we have an agenda item right after this, the approval of the interim superintendent. So as board president, I want to make sure we're communicating out to our community. And sometimes as president, I'm tasked with that. Sure. Not that the rest of the board members don't want to be speaking to the public, but that's kind of one of the roles that I hold. So I was curious and wanted to ask, so if we approve item C right after this, and if we've, obviously we're going to try to select either your entity or Dr. Murray's entity tonight, would you be able to provide a community update, letting the community know the district has approved an interim superintendent and this is why, and this is the value in that, and this is the process. So even in that moment, will you help us communicate to the public?
100%. We are here to work with you.
Okay.
And so we will work with, depending on how the board structure and communication lines are determined by the board,
We will obviously start with the president. Sometimes boards decide they're going to be two people who are going to serve on the search aspect so that we communicate with two people, sometimes the entire board, but we leave it up to you. And we'll definitely be willing to work with you on identifying or with the process,
With the
including
updates.
with the updates.
And that's included in your fee, in
Oh,
your
yeah,
proposal?
everything
Okay.
we talked about, there are no additional costs. If we have to come out an extra day because of community input, et cetera, we come out, we don't charge you travel or anything else.
Thank you so much, Dr. Andrew. Thank you so much. Dr. Murray, did you want to stand up and I can ask you the same question just in the sake of fairness? So same question goes to you about communicating and updating the public. What is your approach on that?
Well, we value that very highly. And what we do is in fact, have a regular update, much like you just heard, ongoing. And we would run that by you. If you're our point of contact representing the whole board, we'd run that by you and then ask that the district, in fact, post that on the website. Right away, we will say on your website, please identify a segment that is just about the superintendent search update. And so we would do that. And you asked about publicizing the interim superintendent, most definitely. And as you said, and pointed out, the value of it and why you're doing that now.
Absolutely. And my second question, and it's in the packet, but I want to just call light to it, is that both vendors, I'm calling each of you a vendor, both vendors are offering essentially a guarantee that if the search process concludes and we hire someone, if the superintendent is leaves, we should say, within 2 years, then your firm would then help us through this process again at no additional charge. Is that correct?
The only additional charge might be additional advertising or travel, that sort of thing. But other than that, no.
And Dr. Andrew, did you have?
And we will obviously do the same thing. We will have a caveat. I believe, we're always transparent to say that basically, if the board changes dramatically, then we will have to have that conversation about what that guarantee looks like, because
That makes sense.
yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you for letting me ask you those questions. Student trustee Avila, do you have any questions for the gentleman?
Nothing further. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you so much. Trustee Dr. Hazen online, any questions?
Just quickly, would you mind just expounding a little bit on that comment about if the board changes over? I mean, are you considering that would invalidate it, or it would just mean the process would change? It would be great if you maybe have a case or an example.
I understood it as he's working with our current board right now. We're going to put forth kind of what we're looking for in the superintendent, because the superintendent is the only employee that the board hires and fires and evaluates. And so what I was hearing is if the board changes drastically, that means that the requirements and the possibly the individual we are looking for would change. And then that would be essentially a brand new search.
Correct.
And so that's when when you would engage charging us again.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you,
Dr. Hazen, is that clear? We may have lost you, Elliot.
Oh, I said yes, that's clear.
Oh, thumbs up. Okay. Clerk McNary, anything?
I don't have any questions. Thank you both for being here in person.
Trustee Otmar?
I'm sure this varies, but do you have about an average timeline of how long it takes you to find a superintendent? I'm sure it varies a lot, but just sort of a rough guess.
You're right. It varies. It varies on a couple of factors. This is typically the time of year where most shifts are being made. And so we start about in January and they run, and we're now finalizing a number of them. Based on your timeline, we'll get started as soon as possible. It can last up to about 3 months at the short end and a little longer at the long end, depending on how long you really want to have it publicized and how far you want to reach. I remind you that McPherson and Jacobson, because by default, we're a national firm, it will be advertised nationally on our website. And we do get a lot of draws that way.
Anything else, Trustee Otmar?
Oh, and ours is usually about 2.5 to 3 months, depending on the board's preference, because remember, this is your search. We look at your preference along the way. Sometimes it's 2.5, sometimes it is 3 members. And in terms of, we are a California-based search firm that has a national presence. And you may have, I think, Dr. Fraser talked about that we have. We don't have consultants. We're all partners in the firm. We meet every 2 weeks. In fact, we meet next Tuesday, and we discuss every single search as a team. So although Dr. Fraser and I may be the 2 standing in front of you, you actually have 14 other members who are looking and taking care of the search if leadership is your choice.
And so as far as, so you're California based, but you're nationwide, so your net is cast wide?
Absolutely.
We are tend to source mainly from California?
Well, a couple of things. Because of our presence, we get, I've not been on any searches, and I've done about 30 that have not had national interest, in some cases even international. So even though we are California based, our reputation, we also are members of many national groups. And so when we send out the blasts, we send them to all those organizations that we're a part of, because all of our members are still very active in education. We want to continue learning. We teach at universities. We really understand the dynamics of today's educational system. And so because of that, we have national draws as well, but we are California based.
Thank you. Trustee Brian Swanson.
I don't have any additional questions. I appreciate the questions that you guys asked, though. It helped just give a little bit more insight too. So thank you for those questions, and to both of you for being here tonight too. I appreciate that.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So I'm going to ask for any public comment on this. We have, Elliot, sure. Elliot, please.
Yeah,
What's your public
I had
comment?
one more scenario. No, this is just, sorry, one more question just that came up. One more question on the process. Hypothetical, if you were to find a candidate that you had placed in a previous search that felt they were the perfect candidate for PGUSD, how would you guys handle that? If you don't mind answering.
If I understand, a candidate from a previous search that we had recently placed, is that your question?
Correct. And you felt that, or they felt they were a great fit for this.
We will not do that to a district in terms of if they've gone through the process and have selected a superintendent. We will not pull them away from them. We want to hold to at least that 2 years, and we actually push for more. Our reputation extends beyond the 2 years, but we would not pull them away from another district.
Ditto. There was no way we do that. We pride ourselves in having superintendents stay 5 years. That's always our goal. Now, superintendent can always choose to apply, et cetera, but we will not actively recruit a sitting superintendent before a 3-year mark at the earliest. But we try to have them stay on for 5 years. So we think that is what true leadership is about, the consistency, the continuity, working with the board and working with your community. And by the way, I can't help but stop and talk about your students, because that's the core and heart of what we do. And to hear the seals of biliteracy and your outstanding student here really warms my heart. So you're really fortunate in this district.
Thank you both so much.
Add to that, we're in a situation where we just recently finished a search, and they selected a superintendent. Another district has expressed interest in this superintendent. They are in the process of finalizing a contract. And we told the candidate, we will not put your name forward if you're already engaged in contract negotiations with a board. The reason being is that it's not fair to the school board that originally hired that person.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So we're at a point now where I believe the choir has okay, the choir has not arrived, but just to set the expectation, when they get here, we will kind of take a pause on this action item and listen to their presentation, which I believe will be outdoors and beautiful. And then we'll come back to this if you don't mind. Louis, there's one person online, which is very exciting, who would like to comment. So please, Molly, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. I was there for the presentations last week. And one thing that I heard on the presentation was that, there would be a large pool of people that would be interested, based on the location, and Pacific Grove is a beautiful area. I don't know if I just froze or not. Okay, no. And the view is lovely. There's no arguing that, but I think that we all need to consider that Pacific Grove is so much more than just the view, and it's so much more than just the location. And, this district has been through a lot, especially over COVID. And whoever is interested in this position really needs to understand that fact that this community has been through a lot, and that we do need someone who understands that it's going to be a challenge, that we are a multifaceted, multidimensional community. And there was a presentation that kind of stood out more to me last week, and that was the one that was the first presentation. I apologize, I forget the woman's name who presented, but there was a larger pool of multi-ethnic candidates for this position. And I do appreciate that there is a greater pool in that respect, but also not just hiring someone because they're multi-ethnic, but that they do have the qualifications and the know-how and the cultural competence to do this job. With that said, I do think it's important that we make sure to, provide as many opportunities as we can in this district to have that representation. So yeah, that's what I want to say.
Thank you, Molly, for speaking up. I know it's kind of nerve-wracking, so I really appreciate you raising your hand and contributing to that. And I'm excited to get your input throughout this process because we have a lot of different tools to gain input. So thank you so much. I hope that's not the last time we hear from you. Anyone here in person who would like to come up to the podium? And Lewis, is there anyone else online? No? Okay. I think this might be a good stopping point. I do believe the choir has arrived. I hear some extreme fun happening outside. So it's 7:39 for the folks online. I do apologize, but you're going to miss out on the choir presentation. I don't know if there's any way around that. So we're going to take it's 7:39. So we'll come back at 7:55, I hope. Kind of dependent on the choir. So we'll hope to see everyone back here at 7:55 and the board's going to go outside. Yes. Everyone at 7:54. I told the public we'd be back at 7:55. What do you think, Lou? Is it okay to start now or should we wait?
A minute, if we told them.
I think we should be serious about the rules. Okay. We'll come back at 7:55. That was a beautiful presentation. Thank you to the choirs, multiple choirs. That was wonderful. Fogged up my glasses, trying not to cry out there. It's fabulous. Okay, we'll be back at 7:55. It's 7:55. Okay. Here we are back on agenda item B, superintendent search process. Let me just say officially on the record, if anyone of the member, if anyone wants to comment on the music presentation that we just saw, I think we should take a respectful moment to give our thanks or any comments to that. So trustee Dr. Hazen, you were able to see it because of the kindness of Laura. She FaceTimed it to you, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, that was amazing. I think we could do that as a new protocol because that was great to hear, and just see the kids and the signs dropping really got to me. So thank you so much for bringing the music to us and to me here in Santa Barbara.
Yeah, absolutely. And what better night for our superintendent search process vendors to get a real kind of view of our students and the passion and talents that they have. And it's a really cool community that we have. So Clerk McNary, anything? I saw perhaps you had a choir member out there?
I had a choir member who was initially pretty disappointed that I had a board meeting tonight and wasn't going to see the choir performance. So that was especially touching. Plus, it was just so incredible that they brought it to us. What a moment. Yeah, I don't really have anything else.
Yeah.
Mr. Mazer is incredible. Ms. Bulware is incredible. And I'm really proud to be part of the community and proud of our students.
Yeah, there were so many families out there too, families and guardians. It was incredible. Trustee Otmar?
Same. I'm really proud to be part of this community. My tears were coming out, so it was beautiful.
That's very moving. Trustee Brian Swanson?
Well, I said it before, but I hope nobody's keeping track. Like when I was a kid, music and choir saved my life. I think sometimes quite literally even. That was where I found my community. There's nothing that's more joyful than looking into the face of somebody who's singing too. It's like we saw those faces, and that is astounding to me to see some of those faces. So, so, you know, yeah, God, I think of the Bullwares and Jared Mazer, and they are my Joni Starr and Karen and John Seashore, the people that helped me find a community. So, and I saw that again tonight, and so many faces out there. It's
So
incredible.
many faces, so many familiar faces. Student trustee Avila?
I probably have too much to say, so I'll try to keep
No,
it
go
brief.
ahead.
But that was one of the coolest things I've seen here, if not in a really, really long time. I think hearing people talk about things like choir and stuff can kind of sometimes seem just like words until you see it. And especially me being a big musician, the one thing I wish I could do was sing. And that was just really, really, really cool. Just seeing all the kids from ages whatever really little to seniors in high school I don't have words.
Yeah.
That moved me a lot. That was really, really cool. I was really, really happy I got to see that.
That was really special. I haven't seen anything like that in attending and being on the board for the past 6-7 years. So it was pretty cool. And just for anyone at home, what happened was it appeared both elementary school choirs, because we had the unity of both Robert Down and Forest Grove out there. We had, I believe the middle school was there, and I believe the high school as well. Oodles of parents and guardians standing behind them. All the singers kind of lined up from tallest to shortest. So the Sweetie Pie youngest were kind of closest to everyone, playing percussion and singing and singing really uplifting, kind songs. So that was wonderful. So thank you to all involved. Okay, now we're moving back into superintendent search process, or changing just like a little bit. We left on, we had gotten a really great public comment from a member of the public, Molly. If any member of the public would like to come up to the podium, feel free to do that now. And board members, please, if any other questions or comments have popped into your head since we last spoke, feel free. Yes, go ahead, Laura.
I have a question about the surveys. You had mentioned a focus group. I have some concerns about in-person focus groups. I feel like sometimes when it's face-to-face, people will be less honest about their feelings. They don't want to be singled out. They don't want to give their true impression of maybe how we're doing as a district or where we might need to go, especially employees of the district. Perhaps students might be more honest, but when it comes to an online survey, all anonymous, is that okay? And is that the same with your, okay. Okay, I just want to make sure that everyone has a space for their voices to be heard and that they can do that in a very honest way. So we get a good impression of where we need to go. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Trustee Dr. Hazen, anything else from online?
Nothing else. Thank you.
Okay, Clerk McNary.
Nothing additional from me. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Otmar, we heard from you. Thank you for that last question. Trustee Brian Swanson. Okay, I don't have anything further. Student trustee Avila? Okay, so we've exhausted the comments coming out of the board at this point. And Louis, anybody on, oh, let me look myself. I don't see any hands either, and I'm glad you have your second set of eyes helping me. So, okay, and no one's here up at the podium. So, we're at the point where now we're going to have our esteemed district attorney, school district attorney, come up and just say a couple of seconds worth of information that just kind of lines out why we're using a superintendent search vendor for this and the value in that process.
Good evening, honorable board members and staff and community members and community members online. That was an impossible act to follow, so. But it reminds you why you're here, and that was quite a moving. Seeing the kids and their faces and the words they were saying were quite significant and important. And I'm sure we'll leave an important mark. You're embarking on the first step of the most important task you have, and that is finding the right leadership for your district. And I think you have two excellent vendors to choose from here. It's important to do this because your staff is busy running the district, and the vendors who are here in front of you tonight specialize in this kind of work. They have networks, they're experienced, they are superintendents with very important and valuable reputations throughout the state. I'm sure whichever you choose will do a fine job for you. The choice is a difficult one, but you should feel comfortable with whichever one you choose to go with, just as you should feel comfortable with the superintendents they bring to you as potential candidates to lead your district. So they have the ability, they have the experience, they have the personnel, I'm sure, to do an excellent job for you. And I don't think you can go wrong with either one of them.
Thank you, Lou Lozano. Thank you so much. So this is an item that we vote on because we're going to vote on which vendor to go forward with. So would anyone like to make a motion on a vendor that they would like to set forth for the board to decide on if they would like to go with them? All right, I'll make, go ahead. Clerk McNary, were you going to say something?
Yep, but go ahead.
Okay. I appreciated both of the presentations. I really appreciate you both being here in person. And the presentations, the packet information were comparable. So I'm going to go with my instincts. And I really appreciated some of the ways that leadership associates kind of approached things. I really liked the proposed timeline calendar, the way they did that, even down to like the font. It was easy and pleasing for me to read the presentation. I feel like they come with a lot of experience, and I feel like they'll do a great job for our district. So I'm going to make a motion to go with leadership associates for our superintendent search process.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion made by Carolyn Swanson, seconded by Laura Ottmar. Mandy, do you mind a roll call vote, please?
Student advisory,
Aye.
President Swanson,
Aye.
Clerk McNary,
Aye.
Dr. Hazen.
Aye.
Trustee Otmar,
Aye.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so motion passes unanimously. Thank you both for coming in person. I'm so glad both of you were here to see our choir and yes, right. Thank you so much. Thank you both so kindly. And so Dr. Andrew, you and I will be in contact, or maybe Dr. Frazier and I will be in contact. And then as a board, we'll make some decisions if we want to do maybe like an ad hoc committee or something for this search process. And we'll decide that when it's on the agenda. Unless we should decide that now. Lou? Come on. No, I was just.
I think the next step would be for me to talk to Mr. Andrew and work out a contract that we can bring back to the board for approval at the next board meeting.
Excellent. That sounds great. Yeah, thank you for that. And thank you for letting the public know that next step. Thank you so much. Okay, so moving on to action item C, approval of the interim superintendent. So this is a contract that we have in the packet. This is on page 173 of the packet. Thank you so much, Dr. Andrew. Thank you. Good night. So I'm going to read a quick disclaimer about half a page. So I'm going to read this disclaimer because this is part of the legal process of approving the interim superintendent. The district will consider approving an employment agreement for Josh Jorn to serve as the acting superintendent of the school district for the remainder of the 2022-23 school year and the absence of the superintendent. When the current superintendent's employment by the district terminates, Mr. Jorn shall serve as the interim superintendent of the district until a permanent superintendent begins service or upon 14 days written notice of termination. A summary of the financial terms of the contract are as follows. Number one, the base salary for Mr. Jorn when serving as acting or interim superintendent will be $1,066.66 per day based on an annual salary of $240,000. Number two, in addition, Mr. Jorn will commence serving as the district safety director at an annual salary of $10,000. Number three, Mr. Jorn will continue to participate in the health and welfare benefits that are provided to other management employees of the district. Okay. That concludes the legal portion of this item. So I'm going to put that over here. Okay, so we've got this item here in the packet, and I'm going to treat it as a typical action item, even though it has kind of a magical, amazing, bittersweet feeling to the whole situation. So Clerk McNary, would you like to comment on this item?
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Jorn, for being willing to step into the role. For the short time that I've been on the board, I've been really satisfied with the work product that's come from your office. And I think that Mr. Jorn will provide some stability for us during this kind of exciting but big time of transition. So I am in support of the contract.
Thank you. Trustee Otmar?
Agreed. I think this is a both sad and exciting time. And I'm grateful that you're going to be with us, helping to lead us while we go through this transition. So thank you very much for being willing and being so steady. We appreciate you very much. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Otmar. Trustee Brian Swanson?
I'm fine with the contract, and I have all the faith in Josh to lead us through it. And everybody already knows how I feel about where we are, and it's a bummer that we're losing Dr. Pottis, but change happens. And how long again? 16 years. It's like, and these guys are talking about 5, the goal being 5. So anyway, that's all for me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Trustee Brian Swanson. And yeah, it can feel like almost a scary time in a district when we have our leader who's been here for 16 years moving on. And I've fielded several questions from community members and some staff members asking, like, what's next? How does this work? Which just goes to our point that we're going to have a wonderful vendor who's going to help communicate that to the public. I have full faith in Josh Jorn because we have been able to see him working on certain projects, and I'm amazed at what he can get done. And I remember one board meeting where we were talking about an item, and I was hesitant to even ask him to do something because I said, oh my gosh, this district, we're on a smaller side. So a lot of folks who work in this district wear multiple hats. And I was fully expecting Josh to be like, yeah. And he says, I love wearing hats. And I was like, okay, this is incredible. That type of energy, please don't lose it. Multiple hat wearing it's rare to find someone who actually thrives and appears calm when many things are going on. So thank you so much. And thank you to his family for allowing him to work all these hours. And I also want to note, he's also taking on now safety director. So that was in the disclaimer I read, and that's something I feel really excited about. And a big thank you to previous safety director, Barb Martinez, who's in here. And so Barb is passing that hat on to Josh Jorn right now. So thank you, Josh Jorn, and thank you to the family for letting him be so committed. And with that, student trustee Avila, anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, I'm not here much behind the scenes, but I'm here on Thursday nights, so I haven't seen, the depths of what your work entails, but I've seen how impressive you are, so I thank you for that. I have full faith, just as much as everybody else here does, that you'll get us through this. And Dr. Portas, you've been here since I was a little kindergartner. And as I've grown up, I've seen you do nothing but good things. So thank you so much for everything.
Absolutely. It is a bittersweet moment, kind of the changing of the guard, or the halfway changing of the guard, the interim changing. Lou Lozano, would you like to say anything?
First of all, congratulate the board and the superintendent, Dr. Porras, for 16 years of service, considering that the average tenure of a superintendent in California is 3.5 years. So that's remarkable, and congratulations to you. I think you'll be in very good hands with Mr. Jorn at the helm, while Mr. Porras is finishing the year and going on vacation for part of the year. And then when he leaves on June 30th, Mr. Jorn will be the interim superintendent, and I'm sure he'll continue the forward movement of the district. So I'm confident you're in good hands, and it's important to have somebody who is accountable at the head, who can make the tough decisions and keep the district moving.
Thank you, Lou Lozano. And I just want to zip online to trustee Dr. Hazen for your comments. And then if staff or community members have any comments, please do.
Yep, just very quickly, thank you, Dr. Porras, for your dedication to the district, and Assistant Superintendent Jorn for your ongoing and continued dedication to this district. It's going to be very important to have you in the coming months, so thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hazen. And if there's any member of the public or staff member who would like to speak now in person, please feel free. Director Rogelman's on his way to the podium.
Good evening, trustees. Dr. Porras, I know you know exactly how I feel about the work that you've done here. And, just as Lou said, 16 years is rare. And when you build something for 16 years, you want to make sure that you take the work that you've helped build and hand it off, and know that it's going to be taken care of well. And Assistant Superintendent Jorn, you are the ideal person to step in at this time. And I just want to let you know that you have my full-hearted support and, endorsement to be the interim superintendent while our search firm goes on this very important quest. That while we're here doing the work, one of the things that's been the most, impressive about you is that if something has to get done, you have a great ability to navigate the obstacles and to imagine the way that it can get done from the beginning until the end. And we get there. And so to have that kind of stability, vision, and ability to execute, stepping in at this time is exactly what the district needs right now. And I just want you to know that anything I can do to support and help out, I'm going to be here every day for you. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Rogelman. Thank you for your support too in this decision. Thank you so much. So now we're at the point where, let me just check with Lewis. Anybody online who wants to comment? No. Okay. Thank you so much. Any board member have anything else pop in their minds that they would like to contribute to this discussion? No. All right. It's time now to vote on the approval of the interim superintendent agreement. So, who would like to make a motion on this?
I would be happy to make a motion to approve the contract.
All right, and I'll second it. Sorry to cut you off, Elliot. Motion made by Elliot Hazen, seconded by Carolyn Swanson. Mandy, if you don't mind.
Student Advisory,
Aye.
President Swanson,
Aye.
Clerk McNary,
Aye.
Dr. Hazen,
Aye.
Trustee Otmar,
Aye.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you all so much. And thank you, interim superintendent, or is it, I always get acting and interim. Yeah, what's the best thing to say right now?
I'm still the assistant superintendent.
All right, thank you, Assistant Superintendent, because Dr. Porras is sitting right next to you. So we do not need your services at this moment. Okay.
Madam President, if I may, just
Yes,
for a
please.
moment, I wanted the item to get completed, but I want to congratulate the board and thank you for placing your faith in Assistant Superintendent Jordan. You know, he's remarkable. He's just a remarkable leader. He's a remarkable man. I think that the humility that he brings to the position and the knowledge that he has is going to serve the district well. Making this kind of change is really, really difficult. And as I process and think through it all, I couldn't think of a better person to be able to pass the baton to and know that, you know, he's going to take good care of the things that have been happening over the years and be a very good steward to the students and the staff and the programs here in the district. So I applaud you on the action that you took and congratulate Josh.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Porras. Thank you so much. So now we're going to move on to action item D, which is Pacific Grove Unified School District post-pandemic protocols, which is actually Joshua Jordan's item. And so would you like to take that away?
Thank you, President Carolyn, and thank you, trustees. So tonight I'm bringing forward the post-pandemic protocol adjustments to our school guidance as issued by the California Department of Public Health. The guidance came out in March 20th. And we would like to make some of the amendments to our COVID protocol plan based on the recommendations from California Department of Education, some of which is outlined here in the guidance summary. If I wanted to dive in more specifically, it's related to masks and the recommendation of masks versus the requirement of masks as it relates to exposure in classrooms, especially at our elementary levels. I know that there has been, you know, some issues related to exposures in classrooms and students having to wear masks, maybe, you know, or being moved to hallways. There's been, you know, some movement on that. And since the guidance has changed, we wanted to bring that forward tonight for discussion purposes and action if we so desire. But I've outlined everything here in front of you and I'm available for any questions. Nurse Polly was going to be here tonight, but I don't believe she is. So if there's any questions I can't answer as a non-medical expert, I would get you that answer from Nurse Polly.
Okay, Trustee Otmar, do you have anything on this item?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Trustee Brian Swanson?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, I've got two questions. So I just wanted to confirm about volunteers. And so can we just talk for a moment because I feel like it's possible that the sites haven't gotten this information yet. So volunteers, from my understanding, no longer need vaccination info to be able to volunteer in the district. They just need to get their fingerprinting and DOJ approval. Is that right? Okay, so
That's correct.
vaccination is now done for this purpose. And then will you, just for the sake of all of us here in the public meeting, we did have that elementary policy that if there was a COVID case in a classroom, then the kids in the elementary class would mask after and consider that and like a close contact exposure. So what are we doing with that policy now?
So that policy is to the pleasure of the board. We're recommending that we move forward without that policy unless the board so desires to maintain that policy in place. It's no longer associated with CDPH guidelines. All of the masking recommendations and requirements were lifted, so I defer to the board.
Okay. So do we need to discuss that tonight and let you know? Okay. Okay, so student trustee Avila, do you have any questions or concerns?
I do not have any questions. I don't know how much this means or anything, but I would be in favor to move along with the without the, well, whatever you just said. I'm in favor for that.
For removing the district masking policy in elementary classes. Okay, thank you so much. I'll come back and circle back to the other trustees so we can get everyone's opinion. Trustee Dr. Hazen on this item, and if you could weigh in on the elementary masking policy.
Yeah, no, I appreciated this coming forward and the suggestion here, and I agree. You know, one question, just kind of for the air of full transparency. I mean, this means we will be treating COVID just like any other cold or flu, suggesting a sick child stay home, or is there still a mandatory staying home under the DPH guidance.
Was that a question?
Yes, that was. I was just asking if that, and if that's something that needs to be directed to Nurse Powley, I'm happy to do so at a later time. It does not have to be answered at
Let's
this.
see. Josh Jordan?
Sure. Yeah. So there is no more mandatory guidance related to the amount of time a child is to stay home after an exposure. So yes, we are essentially treating it as any other influenza style disease.
Thank you, Clerk McNary.
I guess a question in that line, if we're treating it like the flu, are we going to be, say, notifying families if there's a case in a classroom like we do with the flu or lice or other various things that come up at school? Because typically you'll get a notification that says your child got exposed to XYZ ailment or issue today at school, not disclosing any information, just so the families that were close by are made aware.
We would follow the current protocols, and typically, we don't typically do that for flu. It's not as rare. Yeah, no, but it's a really good question. But like lice for sure, that's a biggie. But we'd follow the same protocols that we would for any other announcement.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So to be clear on that item, if there is the flu on that list, you will add COVID to it? Or what was the direction on that?
Will COVID appear on that list, as in families will be notified if the school is notified that there is a case in a class? I'm just curious on that point.
If that's so the desire of the board moving forward, as mentioned, really it's lice, hand, foot, and mouth. There's a couple others right now that we're supposed to, that you're mandated to notify parents. So that's at the discretion of the board to have us add that to our notification list.
Does anyone know if flu is on the list right now? I feel like maybe it
I
is.
don't believe that it is. It's an ed code driven list. And so obviously the board can add to that locally, but I don't believe flu is.
Okay. Anybody knows that? Okay. Any teacher listening, if they know, then teachers would know. Any teachers know if flu is on that form? It's not on the list.
I would say it would be very hard to tell if
track
somebody
it.
had the flu, because you wouldn't swab for the flu. I mean, if
Yeah.
they went into the
Okay.
hospital perhaps, but
Okay. Thank you so much for that info. Thank you, Sean Keller, for telling us that. I've lost track of the trustee who just spoke last because we've gone kind of,
It was me.
okay, thank you.
I guess I would be in favor of adding COVID to that notification list for families to receive if their child was in a class where they were exposed.
Mhm.
And I'll wait for further board discussion then.
Okay. Trustee Otmar. And so just to be clear on the things that we're talking about, because it's kind of gotten, unless you're super clear on them.
I'm clear.
You're clear, please go ahead.
I am definitely in favor of adding COVID to that list. I would also like to request that we encourage families to still test. Did I hear something? A voice from above.
Technology.
Yeah, so I would like to encourage that. I think that that's still important. My kids, there was a recent exposure in the classroom, and I really did appreciate them wearing masks because it is still COVID. And even though guidelines have been lifted, there still is a vulnerable population. And I think that we have a responsibility to protect those that may not fare well with COVID, the elderly, the very young, people that may have any kind of compromise. So I think that just as a community, it's important that we're still respecting that. How that looks in the district, I mean, I can't really say. I would like to hear from Nurse Powley. I don't know if it's possible to defer this until she can speak, but I really value her input.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Well, I don't think it'd be a bad idea to hear from Nurse Powley about it. I am concerned about having our own guidelines higher than the California Department of Public Health, because it gets to be, I think it can get to be a pretty sticky wicket. You know, asking, and I bet we have something in like our parents' handbook to ask them to keep their kids home when they're sick, you know, and I can't speculate as to how many parents actually do that. You know, half, I don't know, not as many as should, but for us to urge that, and that if a parent says, I'm keeping my child home today because they tested positive for COVID or lice or whatever, that's, you know, something like that, that as a district, we can push that information out to make the other parents aware. But I get very concerned when we then have to start to say, okay, so this child tested positive, they're going to stay home, but the whole class was exposed. So now everybody has a mask on, because I remember how some parents reacted to masking and some parents reacted to not masking. And those are not the guidelines that we're seeing right now, really. They're not mandated anymore. So I don't know, maybe we talk about it more with Nurse Polly.
Yeah, perhaps if we have time to bring it back on a future agenda, we could do that. Trustee Hazen, I see your hand up and I will get to you. I could see value in adding it. I don't know. It's tricky for me. Obviously, I'm the only one up here masking, right? I have a very vulnerable child. I mask all the time indoors, and if I can keep my mask on outdoors, I do. Having said that, I'm not sitting on this board right now with only my parent hat on. So I could even see listing COVID-19 on the sheet being problematic, because it may give parents a feeling like I didn't get notified and I should have got notified, or there can be confusion from it that then falls on the teacher, you know, or the school, or there's I don't know how to verify. I think the things on the list are things that maybe the school has a way of verifying, like lice. You go, oh no, they're in the office. Although we do have instant rapid tests, right? And so, Josh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, right, the items on the list are things like scabies, lice, hand, foot, and mouth.
Pinworms.
There's easily identifiable items. I will say that Nurse Polly's the one that actually wrote this cover sheet and
Okay.
asked me to present it. So
Okay.
these are essentially her words. I'm delivering her words. I should have prefaced by saying that. This did come up. She did bring this up, and she wanted us to bring it to the board, and that's why the information or the actual item was brought forward.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, the one compromise I could see being viable is we're almost done with the school year. So maybe we say until the end of the school year, we're going to keep going just to prevent confusion. We're going to have elementary school classrooms mask when there's a positive case. And we also, I think, need to let parents know that if we decide this tonight to remove the notice that's been going out, we need to let parents know, hey, the notice is no longer going to be coming out. So yeah, I could be in favor of not adding it to the sheet, notifying folks, because we are for me, it's hard because unfortunately my family is still so COVID cautious, but I could see a viable solution being not adding it, not changing the form that we have, just leaving the form as is, but retaining the elementary mask district policy that we've already had in place until the end of the school year, and it expires at the end of the school year. And that gives a little consistency, a little comfort to families who have vulnerable kids and family members. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm standing on it. Dr. Hazen, you had your hand up.
Yeah, just two quick things. And I mean, a lot of the questions actually or comments I was going to make were answered, but I do think having some more discussion would be useful. I do like the idea of approving this item, given it is coming from Nurse Polly. The one thing I'll say is on the kind of the data side, the lack of testing we're doing now, we're going to end up with a lot of false negatives because we're simply not going to know when cases are COVID. So I don't feel that confident in reporting when there is a case if we know that some large percentage of potential COVID cases are not being caught. That's just from a science perspective, that's a type 2 error, false, that you would want to avoid. So I think that's one of my concerns with reporting is it's just we're not testing at the rate that we were in the past to get adequate data to.
So Elliot, you're breaking up a little bit, but so question one is, are you in favor of adding COVID-19 to the form that goes home with families?
Sorry, I apologize. I am not, because I think that we would be subject to type 2 error for not having enough testing to be able to say that it's not COVID, if that makes sense.
Okay,
So we would be reporting very rare instances that may be happening more commonly, but we're just not testing. We don't have the data to be able to say that.
okay. And are you in favor or not in favor of keeping masks in the elementary schools when there is a confirmed exposure until the end of the school year?
I am frankly in favor of what was in the packet, since it came from Nurse Pally, which my understanding would be going with the CDPH guidelines.
Okay, and removing that
But
district policy.
exactly, I don't feel that strongly. So, given your rationale, that does resonate with me as well, President Swanson. So I'm happy to have a discussion on that. But hearing that this came directly from Nurse Pally, that alleviated a lot of my concerns or questions about it.
Sure, that makes sense. Clerk McNary, back to you. Anything else? We should wrap it up and decide.
Sure, I withdraw the family notification idea. Thank you for the explanation. I do like the idea of leaving our current policy in place for the next 3 weeks of the school year and then transitioning in the fall. I think it's going to be less information to push out to families and less confusion if it's just remains for 3 more weeks. That's where I'm at on it.
Okay, Trustee Otmar?
How are we, I know that we're notifying families now if there's a COVID exposure. How are we getting that information? Are they testing at school? Or these are parents that are saying, hey, my child tested positive for COVID. So currently, if we're not testing at school, we could continue on with what we're doing. If a parent says, I tested my child for COVID, they're COVID positive, I think it is responsible to let people know, to let families know that their child's been exposed. And families can do with that what they like. I'm not by any means implying that we should start testing kids at school the same way that they would check for lice in the nurse's office. But I think if we could continue with what we're doing when it comes to notification of families, because families have let the school know that their child was positive, I just think it's responsible. So I am definitely in favor of adding COVID to the list, with the disclaimer that, this information is coming from families. I mean, I don't know how you do that, but, and then encouraging families to test. If their child is sick, people send their kids sick to school, it happens. I think they're less likely to send them if they're COVID positive. So if we encourage families to test, I think that would be also very responsible. And as far as masking goes, I'd prefer to keep it going through the end of the year. And then we can kind of, I guess, reassess at that point.
Trustee Bryan?
Well, I'd be in favor of keeping the policy that we have now till the end of the year, just because it's throwing somebody a change with, 3 weeks left. It's going to be easier, I think, for us as a district to, as we welcome everybody back, these are the rules, this is the policy, this is what we're doing. I think we still have masks like crazy, right? We must have a ton of masks, got hand sanitizer, we have gallons of it still. So I'm guessing the district does too. I don't know what to do with it. But I'll bring some by if you guys need some. But yeah, continuing through the end of the school year and then encouraging families, and if we can draft some language to encourage their families, if your child is sick, we'd encourage you to test. It's not mandatory, of course. We're not going to do it here on district property, but if you want to share that information, we can push it out to the kids in the class or share that information. And then again, the parents can decide what they want to do. If we have masks available, that's one thing that's still important for me. If we are seeing something bubble up, that the families and the students, that we can provide that for them. And I'm guessing that we probably do have stockpiles of that gear still.
Can I add just
Yeah,
one thing?
please.
I also think that by giving parents that information, if their child was exposed, it gives them the option if they want to send their child in a mask the next day, or if they are going to be testing at home, and that could prevent an outbreak in the classroom. The parents would say, hey, you know what? I think even if you're asymptomatic, I might test you today. And if they come up positive, they would keep them home from school. That's one less kid in the classroom. So I just think that it could be beneficial. Thanks for listening.
If I may ask, Madam President, in the spirit of keeping the things the same, you let us know in regards to summer school, because summer school kicks in right away. So are you thinking that's through the end of summer school, or just, at the end of regular school year?
Well, we have two different summer schools, right? We have summer school and then we have extended school year.
Right.
Extended school year is for our children who qualify for special education.
Right.
So we have that variable in there too. Do we have summer school at elementary level? We do, and middle and high school. And we have ESY at all three of the levels as well. Elementary, middle, and high.
And then, so it just because it's going to kick on right away.
It does
schools-
kick in, yeah,
yeah,
June, bloop, yeah. Well, when does the end of the school year officially end? Does it end at the end of summer school and ESY typically? Is that how it's seen?
The end of the regular year is at the in end of May, and then we go into the summer school and extended school year. So again, I think if you just want to be explicit in regards to when you want us to, when you're saying this policy at the end of the school year, do you want that to go to the end of the school year and summer school, and then, or effective the beginning of the new school year?
Yeah,
So
I think effective the beginning of the new school year sounds good to me, but Trustee Avila, anything else to add?
You guys pretty much covered it all, but I agree that it doesn't make a whole ton of sense to change policy 3 weeks before the year ends. And I think it is absolutely responsible to alert families when there is a positive case, just in respects to people who may be at higher risk. But also, that being said, I know I'm not going to be here next school year, but I do think that a mandate of class-wide masks, if there is a positive case, I'm not in favor for that.
Makes sense. Thank you so much. So would we be ready to vote on this? Vote on this? It would need perhaps a modification in the motion. So it would be something like, actually, does anyone want it? I don't want to take over the motion. So does anybody else want to make the motion for this? Laura, you had a clear idea of what you were looking for. Do you want to make the motion?
Sure, it might be a little sloppy, but I'm happy to try it.
Go ahead.
I move to approve lifting class masking if there is a known COVID exposure, beginning at the new school year. I would also like to move that we continue to notify families if their child has been exposed to COVID, and that we will encourage families to test for COVID if they are sending their child to school when they're feeling ill.
Laura, can I make a friendly amendment on your motion? And then actually, we need to do public comment on this as well. I was looking online. I don't see anybody, but we're going to do official public comment in just a second.
Please amend. Yes.
And actually, is that procedurally allowed to have a motion on the table and then do public comment, or should we?
You can do public comment all the way through the motion in a second. It's just until before you take the vote.
Okay. My friendly amendment to yours would be everything you just said, but to clarify that when we say continue to notify families, we don't mean that Nurse Katrina is going to send out that notice and give like the timeline. We mean that the notification of families is going to be on, but the LICE form, just to be direct, on the LICE form. Is that what you were going for, Laura?
Sure, as long as the notification goes out.
Okay.
The LICE form is fine.
And the teacher can check the box and send it home. Okay. So we have a motion that's on the table. So we're going to hold that. I'm going to hold that motion here in my hand, and I'm going to go out to public comment. and see if anyone online or in person would like to comment. Oh, we have somebody here. Thank you, Sean Keller. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening again, Board. Sean Keller, principal at Robert Down. And I can only speak on Robert Down's behalf because that's where I work. The policy has caused confusion since February. Unfortunately, we do have some families that claim that their child has anxiety when wearing a mask. And the only way I've interpreted how to approach that situation is to remove the student from the classroom. If you have any direction for me, please provide it. But when I did share this with at least one particular family, I was told that they preferred the student to be in a classroom. And so I made arrangements for this, but then if the class is slightly off with the math and this and that, it just, for the teachers, it created a little bit of chaos. For the last situation that I dealt with, I basically said the same thing to the students. And I said, if you do not want to wear a mask, you need to come out to the hallway. And it was a third of the class. So again, it disrupted the education, and the teacher asked me, why can't we have a choice in masks? I feel okay with it. The teacher was wearing a mask. And I really feel like, I know it's only 3 weeks. I respect everything you're saying, and I completely understand that our younger students have been more vulnerable because, you know, we had the most outbreak just a few weeks ago of 15 students in 1 week. That was the most out of this entire time. But I'm still coming to you that it's just confusing and disrupting with those small amounts. And I'm not saying it's everybody, but the small amounts of families that say to me, I don't want my student to mask anymore. Just wanted to give you that feedback. Thank you.
And so your solution, Sean Keller, would be to have it, the masking be a choice, essentially be highly recommended, but not mandatory.
That's what I'm asking.
Mhm.
Because that's what the families who do not want their students to mask are saying. It should be a choice. And they feel it should be that way because of the state coming out in February and the new CDPH guidelines. So many acronyms.
It's okay.
Now I have to think of health acronyms. That's so much.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So as a board, so we're envisioning, you know, like, let's put ourselves in a third grade classroom for a moment, and we've got a COVID positive case, and the teacher, you know, it's the next day, right? And it's been confirmed by the family that there was a positive case. So the teacher is passing out masks and saying, we're masking, it's a board policy, we need to mask. And we have a student in there who is very against it. Do we empower the teacher to say, you know what, you don't have to wear your mask? Or do we make it mandatory like it is now?
Is it okay if I comment? on this now?
Absolutely.
I would much rather. This will be a question, I guess, to you, Dr. Porras. So is it possible, and to you, so is it possible to add to the form, if there's a COVID exposure, maybe underneath it, say, like a recommendation that, or you may mask your child if you feel it's necessary, whatever the legal lingo might be, and leave it up to the parents if they want to send their child to school with a mask on? I mean, I would be in favor of that. I don't like hearing that kids are being removed from a classroom. I think it's exclusionary and isolating, and that doesn't sit well with me at all.
Yeah, that's certainly something that needs to be addressed. I think you can always make a recommendation for something as the school district. I think that it gets a little tricky when it's just a recommendation in policy, because then there's no real hat to hang on, so to speak. But we can look into it with legal counsel to find out. I think the fallback has always been what is currently the guidelines, the mandates. And as soon as you start kind of straying off that, you don't have a lot of ground to stand on. There's a lot of metaphors tonight. I think it would be good for us to ask legal counsel in that regards, in any recommendation, because once it's in policy, it puts any kind of legal jeopardy on the district, and I wouldn't want to make a recommendation without assessing that first.
Okay.
2 online. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can we please hear from LBJ?
Hi, this is Molly Kriva, speech language pathologist at Forest Grove. I am in favor of continuing the masking rules until the end of the school year. While I am sympathetic to the situation at Robert Down, I do think that outbreak speaks to the reality and the continued seriousness of COVID-19 in the classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. Erica's iPhone SE, please.
Erica Chavez, kindergarten teacher at Robert Down. I just want some clarification as well if we go either way. I heard Trustee Ottmar say something about if the parents choose to mask, they can send them in the mask. We have children who may choose to mask or families who may choose to have masks, but they may not still have access to masks. So still having the masks on hand for a kid who said, I forgot my mask, but I want to wear a mask. I don't want to leave it all onto the families for a variety of reasons, including just the equity access to options for safety that the parents and the students may have, regardless of if it's left up to them to decide, or if we're deciding for them. I think that masks need to be readily available on site and not just come with the masks. Thank you.
Well, that makes me have a question. Are children's masks not available at the site?
It's also in the provision there that the masks will
They
continue to make masks available.
Okay, and that will continue, because perhaps that was Ms. Chavez's concern, is that they won't continue, but they will continue to be there until, and adults and children until at least the end of the school year, maybe till we run out, right? We have one more. Ooh, excellent. We have Christina Luciano online. Go ahead, Ms. Luciano.
Good evening, board and community members. I would just like to add that I am in favor of keeping the current policy until the end of the school year, just for consistency's sake. I can speak to the fact that being in a classroom with students who have COVID exposures and come to school with runny, sniffly noses, sneezing and coughing, it just makes it a lot easier, and it makes me feel a little bit safer if everybody just has a mask on, especially when they've been exposed.
Thank you very much. So we can either, well, we have a motion on the table, so we need to do something with this motion. So we can vote on the motion if there's a second. And Laura, did you want to repeat your motion?
I will try.
Yes, please, go ahead.
So I move to approve that we continue the same masking policy until the end of the school year, as well as including COVID-19 on the form that notifies parents that their child has been exposed to something. I believe there's a third part and I can't remember what it was.
Let's see, the masking, notify families. Ralph, did you have notes on a third part?
Oh, and that we would encourage families to COVID test their child when they're feeling ill before sending them to
Okay.
school.
In the verbiage on the lice form.
Correct.
Urge the family. Okay. Okay.
Good.
Go ahead, Elliot.
Sorry, I was going to suggest another potential friendly amendment, but I'm happy to have it removed. But based on Principal Keller's comment, would it be possible to keep the policy, but have there be an opportunity for a written waiver if a kid is facing anxiety about wearing a mask? Or do we feel that that is, again, too confusing given the time period?
Well, the idea of making it mandatory, but also allowing for a parent to, what's the word I'm looking for? Excuse their child. It's a valid idea, I think, because the verbiage is that it's a mandatory masking because your classroom has been exposed. And, you know, there used to be a doctor's exemption, but if we made it a parent exemption, I think it could reduce frustration on the parent side of things. And allow for that agency upon the family while also for I think the majority of kids will continue to mask because they're so used to this process being in place. So so you've made a friendly amendment, Trustee Hazen. Dr. Portas, procedural question. Do we need to restate the entire motion?
I would recommend that you do that. Typically, friendly amendments usually come in after the second, but it's been just kind of an organic conversation.
It has
so
been an
that's all
organic
for-
conversation.
So I think if you want to make a motion, the person who's making the motion, if you're accepting all those, you just need to remake it with
Okay.
everything inclusive.
May I ask Mr. Keller a question? Principal Keller?
Sure.
Is that something that's feasible for you to do? Because this is going to be a form that's going to have to be created. And we're talking about the last 3 weeks of the year. So this exemption, a parent exemption for their student to wear a mask.
Yeah, like I said, it's a very small amount of parents, so not a big deal. I'll contact those families and
You could do it over email because it would be in
Yeah.
writing. Okay, okay,
Okay, I just want to make sure that wasn't something that
But
was
may-
going to
not
be
a,
too big
not a
to
major
do.
burden.
Okay.
okay. Do you feel heard, Principal Keller? Like, I want to make sure you feel heard.
No, again, I appreciate what you guys said before. It's just that that's what I want you to know what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
When these kind of things happen.
And we so value knowing that. So thank you for saying something. Yeah, thank you. Okay, Trustee Otmar, would you like to
Before
make
we
your,
go, sorry.
oh, sorry, Brian, go ahead.
I'm gonna waffle on this for a second. I'm looking at the timing that we got this recommendation from CDPH and then the date that they recommended it, which was April 3. Now it's May 4. And I think for the most part, as a district, we've always tried to follow CDPH guidelines. And even if it's just 3 weeks, it's like we've already waited a month. Instead, at this point, I'm really more in favor of following what Nurse Polly had also suggested, is that we get this done already. And there's risks and complicated elements to it wherever we go. But I would like to be unified with CDPH on this and where they are.
And just to clarify, Dr. Portas, do we still retain our ability as a district, our own agency to make adaptations or?
Yeah, you certainly can. I mean, the board, again, it's local jurisdiction. I think these conversations that we had around COVID since the get-go, we've always been kind of maneuvering in and out.
Mhm.
You know, how far off the path do you get from CDPH and not? And I think the board has traditionally tried to stay on that path, partially because all the school districts are doing this and partially for legal considerations. And so I think anytime you kind of, I think, steer away from that, you're going to run into potential problems.
Mhm.
So I would advise the board, if you're going to go farther away from the guidelines, it would be good to have staff go back to legal and just ask. I know it delays it a little bit, but I think, you know, it just knowing what I know and watching what has happened over the past years, I think it would be safe for the district in terms of litigation, just to make sure we're on the right path. And I
Okay.
wasn't anticipating this conversations, otherwise we would have had.
Yeah, I wasn't
Stay
either.
longer, so, yeah.
That's okay. We can't predict everything. So board, are you okay with making a motion and having that motion taken to legal? So I would say that it would need to be clear that the majority of the board was in favor of that motion, or else it would be silly for us to take it to legal, right? So
It wouldn't really be, well, if it was your motion is you're looking for a vote, if you want, you can ask us.
Staff
direct
direction.
Staff direction, just take
Okay.
take these concerns to legal and come back with a recommendation or advisement with the same item.
okay, so procedurally, Ralph, how do we erase our motion that's on the table?
Well, you'd have to ask for a second, and if there's no second, then it, as they say, dies for lack of second. So,
Okay.
I will point one thing out, is that if this goes to legal, then it needs to come back to us, and then we are left with 1 week in the school year. So it
Exactly.
seems
Perfect.
So how much are we gonna spend to have an extra week of the policy?
that's where I'm going. Yeah.
Part of our job is fiscal responsibility too.
summer, yeah.
In the summer.
Oh, in summer.
Mhm,
Yeah.
Okay.
mhm. Yeah,
Okay, well, my
So-
motion's out there.
your motion is out there. All right, does the motion have a second? Seeing none, your motion is no longer.
Sorry about your motion.
Sorry about your motion, Laura.
We'll bring this to legal and have a conversation with them.
Yes, thank you. And please include that we would like to allow for a parent to be able to exempt their child from the mask. Because I think that will carry us through. Okay, thank you all for this discussion. We're moving on now to, so no action was taken on item D, but direction was given to staff. Thank you so much. Action item E, National School Public Relations Association Communications Review for Pacific Grove Unified School District. Dr. Portas, do you want to say anything on this?
No, I think we're bringing back the direction that from the direction that we received at the last time around on this conversation.
Okay.
So I think it's ready for board action.
Yeah, actually, I didn't see anything in the packet that would make me not vote on this. So I'm going to go to the board because a board member may feel differently than I do, and then I'll go out to the public on this item. So trustee Brian Swanson, any comments on this item?
No comment, thank you.
Okay. Student trustee Avila.
None, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Dr. Hazen online.
Nope, none for me.
Okay, Clerk McNary.
I guess my one question is about the $800 additional fee for an auditor to deliver a virtual presentation. Do we decide upon that as well right now?
Yeah.
I think, yes, that's part of the
Okay.
agreement at this point.
I am in favor of this contract and I appreciate staff for doing the legwork to get us here. And I'd also be in favor of a presentation from the auditor. I think that would be really valuable.
Thank you. And is that part of the existing contract?
There is a $5,500 fee and then an additional $800 is my reading of it for the virtual presentation with the results of the audit.
Understood. Okay, so it's a $6,300 contract.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Trustee Otmar.
My question is about the focus groups that were mentioned. How do we plan to assemble the focus groups? How will we find the focus group?
I think they touched on that at the previous meeting. Ralph, correct me if I'm wrong, and they mentioned that once the contract is approved, they would reach out to us and get guidance on that, or
Okay,
staff,
perfect.
or board.
They would start with staff and then come to board. So yeah, I think they address that issue. They work on that issue.
Okay, and then it did mention also parents from each school, and I just wondered how those parents were selected.
I think
Same.
I think they'll ask staff to try to figure out what mechanism, how that works best and then come back and follow up that way. So.
Those are all the questions I have. Thank you.
Good questions, trustee Otmar. Trustee Brian, I started with you, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Hazen, we heard from you, correct? Thank you so much. We're going out to the public now. If anyone online or in person would like to mention anything about this item. I don't see anyone online and I don't see anyone in person, so I'm bringing it back to the board for a motion and a second, if anyone would like to.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract with the National School Public Relations Association, which would include the $5,500 non-member rate fee and the additional $800 for the auditor to deliver a virtual presentation.
Thank you for that really clear motion. Any second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you so much. Motion made by trustee Brian Swanson, seconded by clerk McNary. Mandy, if you will.
Student advisory,
Aye.
President Swanson,
Aye.
Clerk McNary,
Aye.
Dr. Hazen,
Aye.
Trustee Otmar,
Aye.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Checking in with the board. It's 9 o'clock right now. I had kind of plotted out on the agenda that we might have to go to 11, and I want to ask you if you need a 10-minute break right now, or if we should save it for later. Go ahead. You need a 10-minute. Oh, okay. Okay.
It doesn't have to be 10 minutes. I just need long enough to.
I've
get
learned
there.
if I do a 5-minute, it's always longer than 5
7?
minutes.
How about 7
7
minutes?
minutes it is? Okay, we'll be back at 9:08. Thank you so much. I think trustee Hazen is here, but we do have a quorum. There he is. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I hope we all had a nice break and we're ready and refreshed to come back. Is there a side conversation? No, I'm just.
Thank you for the break, Larissa.
Thank you for the break. You're welcome. Thank you for, yes, okay. Here we are. Action item F, agreement for services within the city of Pacific Grove for a school resource officer. Trustee Avila is not here, so I'm gonna go up to trustee Dr. Hazen. You're the first to comment.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I really appreciated the results from the survey that were shared. I realized I was late in the process, but I also appreciated the discussions that I saw on video from the past board meeting. And I want to say I am very eager to move forward with this and continue Officer Hanks's presence at our school. So thank you for including it and the additional attention to detail by the district office.
Thank you. Clerk McNary.
Yeah, thank you to staff for putting the survey together and getting us that data, and for the people who participated too, the staff and students. I think the survey data is really important. And I think the data was really useful for me because it showed, like, right now overall, people have a positive feeling about the school resource officer and feel safer overall with him on campus. I guess looking at the contract for the program, and I know Assistant Superintendent Jordan and I talked about it, I still had some concerns that there really isn't a metric for evaluation. And the other concern is that the way I read the contract, attendance for the school resource officer still isn't mandatory, and we are not necessarily going to have a backup officer should the school resource officer be unavailable. So I think if the idea is to have him present because he's providing school safety and community building and other relationships, then I think it's to the benefit of the district for the attendance piece to be cleaned up. Working with the data that we have right now, I'd love more going forward, but a couple of things that I saw from the survey results were that there wasn't a lot of mention of the DARE program. Some people knew we had it, some people weren't sure if we did. I would love to see us evaluate whether or not the DARE program is the best practice to educate our students about drugs. I'm not sure, and I'd just like for us to look at it. And another piece that came back from the survey feedback was that staff want to feel safer on their school sites and during their day. And there is a kind of a concern for physical safety at the sites, being that we have multiple sites and one school resource officer. Some of the feedback was that maybe we need greater security at our school sites. So I guess I am comfortable moving forward with the contract because it does have data. I do want to be able to evaluate this program more thoroughly next year. So I want to know what other ways we can collect data. And then I also hope the board would be in favor of maybe some further direction to staff on other ways we can improve our safety for the district. So I'll leave it there. That was kind of a lot.
That's okay. Good comments, Clerk McNary. Trustee Otmar.
I did enjoy seeing the survey results. That made me feel good. It made me feel like the students feel safer with an SRO. I am in favor of having an SRO. I appreciate your comments, Jen. They're very valid. I would like to see additional drug education along with DARE. I would actually like to I would like to have a presentation by Officer Hanks and have him give us the same presentation that he gives to the students. Because I think that that's important. I would like to know what he's saying and how he's presenting information, so that we know if we need to kind of bulk up the education for drugs in the community or in our district. I would like to see increased security if that means adding additional SROs at some point, like one per campus. I would not be opposed to that. I don't know what that would look like financially, but pretty steep, but it might be worth looking into. As far as this contract goes, I'm fine with moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Otmar. Trustee Brian Swanson.
I'm good to move forward. The survey results were nice to have. It's nice to see again that people are generally aware and feel better with an SRO on campus. So I'm ready to go ahead with it. I think that when the next time the contract comes up, it would be nice if we could get it a little bit earlier, because we ended up having more changes here, and I feel like we're just getting it under the wire. But that's okay. It's been a busy year. And I don't know when and I don't need to know when we'll see the next one. Anyway, I'm ready to get to move forward with this.
Thank you. And Dr. Hazen, you went first, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. So my comments, my comments are, I think the contract is what it is this year. I'm not 100% in favor of it, but I'm enough comfortable with it to approve it tonight. The survey takeaways for me were so interesting. You know, surveys can be like that, where they have such a spectrum of responses. So we had everything from, we have an SRO program, to the other end of the spectrum, which was, we need one of these SRO officers at every site. So it was the entire spectrum. But kind of the middle, the bell curve, if you will, of the survey was telling me that staff really would like to feel more secure on campus. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if that looks like a campus monitor at every site, a PGUSD employee who, you know, walks around the perimeter, makes sure that the back gate is closed. You know, I mean, these are really important details of a day. And we have one principal at a school who has, I would imagine, hundreds, if not maybe 1,000 things in one day that come through. I mean, there's at least 400 kids. Each one of those kids has 1 to 2 caregivers, plus 70 employees. I mean, the math is astounding for what the principals have on their shoulders. And I would hate for a back gate to be open and something disastrous happen, and that to be on the shoulder of a principal or somebody else. And so I would love to see some sort of, I would love to direct staff tonight to look into, and now we have a new director of safety, I guess. So I'm kind of talking to Josh a little bit, how we can improve security and safety so that there's those little details that make a big difference. So anyways, so that's my take on the survey. The DARE program, I love the idea of having either the DARE program come to us, or us maybe go to the DARE program in the classroom, and that can we can kind of see, you know, as long as we don't feel we're disrupting the classroom. But maybe, I know it's tricky, especially for more than 2 of us to go, but I really want to get my eyes on the DARE program. Because when I had the DARE program, it wasn't very effective for me, but so I want to see it. You know, is it the same program that I had when I was in school, or has it really evolved? Is there data to show that that's the best program for our kids, or maybe we need to make it more robust? I have so many questions and I just don't know, but I think we owe it to the kids to find out. And yeah, about the attendance part of the contract, that was one of my sticking points for the contract. And I don't feel that the contract is shored up and tightened up in that way for me. I understand that emergencies happen when it comes to police, and sometimes there may have to be a situation where they pull that staff member from our school. That is totally reasonable and valid. But I just want to make really clear that they know that the board expectation is that the SRO is there 180 days a year. And I personally want to know if they're not there on a day. I was disappointed that our SRO was out for 21 days, and that was about 120 days into the school year. And that's, I don't know, 16% or something of the school year that they weren't there. I don't like that, especially because I feel like our community and our staff members who are really in favor of this program are in favor of it because they believe this individual is creating a security presence on campus. So I want to fulfill that community and staff expectation as far as I can. I do have a question. Is the SRO allowed to be alone with a student in their office that we provide?
The police don't, that's not their practice. So I think it's, if it was to be some kind of, I don't think it's ever happened that I can think of now. And I think they can be if it's in the course and scope of the work as a police officer, but as a SRO in the work that we're having him do, no, he's always with another adult.
Okay, because in our contract, it's very specific that we provide him with a private office.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about our current officer in any disparaging or pejorative way. I'm talking about the program in general. Are we allowing, or are we not calling out specifically? Because I didn't see it in the contract saying this individual cannot be alone with a minor. And so, Lito, is the SRO office on your campus? Lito's making his way up to the podium. Thank you.
President Swanson, if I may.
Yeah,
really quick.
please.
Just because I've worked with many SROs over the course of the last 14 years in the county. As a practice, they do not bring students into their office and close the door. So there are sometimes pull-in conversations now, and Lito can express what's happening here at PG Unified, but at every facility I've ever been at, that door has a window in it as well. So there has to be line of sight from another adult to the student and the SRO, any sort of an interaction. That's a best practice, and that's what I've seen.
Okay, thank you.
So as far as office space, Officer Hanks or any SRO can use the offices that we have available in the A wing. We used to have a dedicated office for him up until we had our licensed mental health therapist come onto campus, and we had to make some adjustments because we have a lack of office space. So there is not a dedicated office space solely available or only available for the SRO.
Okay.
And the majority of the time when the SRO needs to do reports, they're doing it from their patrol cruiser because it's easier for them to do it rather than sit in
I could see
an
that.
office on school on school grounds.
Okay.
So
It's like a mobile office. They have internet and everything there and their computer and such.
Right.
Okay. So you can guarantee us that an SRO and a student are not alone in a building or alone in an office without a line of sight.
no, the SRO is really just an extension of administration. And when we need to speak with the SRO regarding a student, the SRO and administration, myself, assistant principal, are present if that needs to take place.
Got it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, public comment. I'm going to go out for public comment on this item because student trustee Avalon has left for the evening. So we have a hand up online. Louis, do you mind unmuting Molly?
Hi, everybody. Me again. So there's a lot to unpack in this one, and there isn't enough time, but I'm just going to be real quick. I understand that, there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes than the parents understand. And, the staff wants to feel safe, the kids want to feel safe on campus, and with everything going on nationwide with mass shootings and and substance abuse and all these issues going on, I can understand why one would think that having an SRO on campus would make things safer, but there really isn't much evidence out there to support that policing makes campuses or any area much safer, especially for certain demographics of individuals. And, you know, the police station in proximity to the high school is so close that, you know, one could call from the school if there was an emergency, and they could probably be there just as quick, if not quicker, to the campus if there was an issue than having an SRO. Because say you don't have the SRO at the high school or even the middle school, say it's at the elementary school and they're tied up in another situation, then they've got to leave and go over to the other location. It still wouldn't make the situation safer. And, you know, also with respect to, you know, the substance abuse, the DARE program, we already had that meeting with Reb Close. She communicated that it's, you know, the substance abuse with the students, policing is not going to work. It's the why is there a demand for the substance abuse with the students in the first place? And that's where I think this funding should go into after school programs, mental health support, things of that nature to help with the students, versus having an SRO bounce around. It's not going to make it safer. It's not going to be cost effective. Also, the DARE program, I know that it's been reworked, but I mean, you know, you have a campus that 2% of the population is African American. And if you look at the DARE program, the history of the DARE program is inherently racist. And it did contribute during the crack epidemic to the destruction of the Black community during that time. And no matter how you bake a cake that has poison in it, if you alchemize it so it's not poisonous anymore, it's still going to have the chemical compounds in it. And you're still going to be eating something that's not healthy for you, and you know it. And that's what it feels like for a person, especially an African-American person who knows the history of the DARE program, to have to listen to someone regurgitate that over and over again to you. It's not going to be effective for illicit substance abuse. It's harmful. If anything, you know, it's been discriminatory and it's not necessary. And I really think that there are better ways in the community that we can support these kids to reduce substance abuse versus and it's not through policing. And I think that money could be better funded elsewhere.
Molly, thank you for your really well thought out comments, and we really appreciate you saying something tonight. So I don't see anyone here in public who would like to make a public comment, and we don't have anyone else online. I'm going to bring it back to the board and go through one more round like we try to do always on comments. So Trustee Dr. Hazen.
Nothing more to add. I do like the idea of revisiting the DARE program.
What's that?
Sorry, nothing more to add other than I do like the idea of revisiting the DARE program.
The DARE program. Okay.
Not as part of this item, but as a future agenda item.
So like a pull it and kind of revisit maybe many of our health offerings, or at least this drug education offering. Okay. Clerk McNary.
Yeah, I think I'm still not 100% on board with the contract, but enough to move forward given the feedback on the survey for this year. I would also like us, I have actually had an opportunity to watch the DARE program in action. I have a 5th grader. So I have been sitting in for those lessons as a parent in my child's classroom. And I do think it would be really valuable for the board to have that presentation for perspective on what the program is offering, at least our kiddos. I guess the other two pieces with regard to being able to direct staff, I would also be in favor of taking a look at the DARE program or our drug education offerings, as well as looking more into site security, whatever that looks like.
Thank you, Trustee Otmar.
I agree with everything that Trustee McNary just said. I agree with that. I think that we could do probably a lot better than DARE. We have some pretty fantastic resources in our community that I'm sure would be willing to help. and reaching out to them would be really beneficial. I can see why, you know, I don't think I'm 100% on board with the contract either. But we move forward now, and then I think that we can address things that need to be addressed in the near future.
Thank you, trustee Otmar. Trustee Brian Swanson?
No further comment. I'm ready to move forward.
Okay. So yeah, my gleaning of that situation, the kind of the some summary of it all, is that it sounds like the majority of the board would be interested in having the DARE program, presented to us. I realize it's a multi-day program, I believe. So perhaps like the first day of it, you know, like one episode of the DARE program, just to educate us all, because we don't know if there's, just to educate us all, right? That's enough said. I would love to see this contract come back early next calendar year, so January or February, so that we can work on a deliverable, because it doesn't really have one in there right now on a way to evaluate this program, except for a sign-in sheet that is reminiscent of a kind of like the sign-in sheet that I do when I volunteer at my daughter's school. Like, I'm here, this is the time I'm going to this classroom. It's a step forward, but I think we can find a deliverable by directing staff to research these types of programs. Find out if, you know, find a deliverable. That's what our jobs are as board members, is to have deliverables. Tighten up attendance, work with them. Maybe we just needed more time to talk with them about it. Josh, I know you really scrambled to get this rolling, and we've got this deadline, and you know what? That's okay. We're going to get this going for this year. It's clear the community and the staff value this program, so we're going to dig in and really find out, make sure we're maximizing it. And then the other thing is increasing security on campus by perhaps relieving the mental load of the administrators and having some sort of solution to kind of add to campus security, so that we don't have as many folks scared at school. So that's what I'm hearing. So can we get a motion? Oh, Billy, would you like to say something? You're for the next one. Okay, I apologize. And since we have redone our questions for the board, I'm happy to ask one more time for any public comment. It's an important topic, so we'll go back out to the public for a second time if there's anyone online. It doesn't appear there is, and there's no members of the public here to come up to the podium. So do we have a motion and a second on this item?
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion by Brian Swanson.
I'm happy to second.
Okay, trustee Dr. Hazen has now seconded. Mandy, if you will.
President Swanson.
Aye.
Clerk McNary.
Aye.
Dr. Hazen.
Aye.
Trustee Otmar.
Aye.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mandy. Motion passes unanimously. As far as the direction to staff that I was just rattling off, do you want me to send that in an email? And also, maybe more importantly than that question is the majority of the board in favor of that direction?
Well, and as far as the majority of the board favor the direction, I'm hearing at least a majority of the board
I'm
say that.
thinking so, but I just wanted
but
to
it's-
make
I
sure.
mean,
'cause
we have the notes down for what you're asking,
Okay.
so that's fine.
Okay,
yeah.
excellent. And maybe I'll follow up with a timeline. I would like to know a timeline on those items. So, okay, thank you so much. Moving to action item G, which is revision to the salary schedule for the position of adult school program coordinator. And now I see why Director Menke is here. Thank you, Director Menke, for waiting so patiently.
Thank you, President Swanson, trustees, and my fellow administrators and members of the public. My name is Billy Mankey, and I'm bringing forward the salary schedule review and revision for the adult school program coordinator, which is currently a vacant position at our adult school.
Thank you so much, Director Menke. And just for the board, this is an item that we've seen before in recent past. So So if we have any questions for Director Menke or, yeah, we'll go with questions and discussion. So Clerk McNary, go ahead.
I don't have anything at this time.
Trustee Otmar.
I do have some questions. I'm noticing from the last time it was presented to this time that it's presented, the dollar amount has changed in the salary schedule. So I just wanted to get some clarification about that and how those numbers were adjusted and why those numbers were adjusted.
I adjusted the numbers from the last meeting when that was the direction that I took from that meeting. It was pointed out that there was quite a bit of disparity from the beginning of the schedule to the end. So I went through the schedule and adjusted it. I adjusted the columns to be 3.25% between columns, so it was an even amount. It still kept us within the same ranking as the last time I presented it.
Okay. It just leaves, I feel like it leaves me with more questions. So if we had approved it the last time, then we would be paying essentially at step 8, $4,000 more. So I guess I'm wondering, besides our questioning it, what changed? Did the job description change or?
The job description did not change.
Okay.
It was brought to my attention, though, that that it was, like I said, low on the low end and a larger amount on the high end, and that I took the direction that you would like to see it more equalized. And so that was the approach I took, just based on my interpretation of your direction. And if it had taken it out of the range of, made it lower in our comparable districts than what I already had it, I probably wouldn't have done, I would have done something different.
Okay. I have just a couple other things. So when I'm looking at the other job descriptions, the way that this was explained to me is that this is much like an assistant principal position. But as I look at the comparison job descriptions, some of those were, specifically one of them was just under the superintendent. So that would be more like a principal. So I didn't see how the comparables didn't seem like comparables when I was reading through.
It's difficult in adult school,
And then
sorry.
the other issue that I see here is that the position was created in 2019. And just based on what you're giving us today, this is an increase of $33,291 per year at a step 8 salary. So that seems pretty steep to me in 4 years. I just would like a little clarification about that too.
Well, I can't tell you exactly how the other districts came up with their, dollar amounts. What I can say is that the LCFF districts, for many years were getting more money annually for raises than basic aid districts. That's a similar situation we're in right now. And so we're always, at least in the last, I don't know how many years, but we're playing catch up. And so as with Eric in the position and the position not being refilled, we didn't go back out and compare. So he was here 4 years. And when we replaced the position, it was a competitive salary at the time.
I guess I still am, I understand it's an adult school. Some of the comparables were, it seemed like from adult schools as well. It just didn't seem like it was kind of across the board similar.
It's interesting with adult schools and, that are part of a K-12 school, right? So one of these positions is a coordinator, and it's an adult school coordinator, but it's also a teaching principal, right? And so another one is in charge of ROP as well as adult ed. So oftentimes these positions are are put together to fill other gaps. For various reasons. I guess it would just be district need.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, trustee Otmar. Trustee Brian Swanson.
I mean, I think the revisions have been well explained. You took what we had asked last time. I can understand where, when you take a look at the jumps, how some are considerable, but I think that Director Mankey explained it pretty well, that it's like we were behind. And when you take a look at those jumps and knowing where we were, and then you take a look at what is being presented now, we're really kind of right where we strive to be. We don't, we're not number one and we're not at the bottom. We're solid in the middle, and it's even over all of these steps. So I'm ready to move forward. I really don't want to see this again.
Thank you, trustee Brian. I don't have any questions. Trustee Dr. Hazen, anything?
Yeah, no, the fact I'm appreciate the effort you put into this, Billy, and happy to see this move forward at this meeting.
Thank you.
And any public comment online? Okay, unfortunately, we're not seeing any public comment online, and there's no one here in person either. Unfortunately, too. And so we're at the point where we can make a motion and vote on this item. If anyone would like to make a motion.
Also move.
Motion made by Brian Swanson,
I'll second the motion.
seconded by Clerk McNary. Molly, if you will.
Oh,
Sorry, Mandy. Who's
no,
Molly?
that's okay.
Mandy.
President Swanson,
What? I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Can you do that again, Mandy?
President Swanson,
No.
Clerk McNary,
Aye.
Dr. Hazen,
Aye.
Trustee Otmar,
No.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion passes 3-2. Two not in favor are trustee Otmar and President Carolyn. Moving on to California Day of the Teacher, which is action item H, and Teacher Appreciation Week, which is resolution number 1104. Dr. Portas, this is, and Billy Mankey. This is your item if you want to introduce it.
This item is to appreciate the teachers working in our district, our certificated teachers. And there's a little background on this. It was brought forward in the early 1970s, where the Association of Mexican American Educators adopted the Mexican tradition of annually recognizing teachers and began organizing related events throughout the state. In 1985, AMAE sponsored legislation incorporated in Ed Code Section 37222.1 to establish the Day of the Teacher to be observed each year, the second Wednesday in May. And as we all know, teachers play an important role in our society, fulfilling their responsibility to educate all children. The state of California has declared the second Wednesday in May as California Day of the Teacher. And therefore, we recognize our teachers with a resolution proclaiming May 1st, 2023 through May 5th, 2023, that's this week, as Teacher Appreciation Week, whereby citizens confirm and support parent-teacher partnership, and specifically May 10th, 2023, as California Day of the Teachers. And just to add a little more to this, on behalf of the district office and on behalf of the board, some of our HR staff, Angela Lippert and Kimberly Ortiz, took lunch to several of our school sites today. They went to Robert Down, Pacific Grove Middle School and Adult School. And then let's see, I believe it's next Tuesday, high school, community high, special ed preschool, state preschool, and Forest Grove will be provided with a lunch. And the district office will be on Thursday.
Great.
Yeah, and typically, I don't know what procedure you want to move forward with, President Carolyn, but typically either you or a member, one of the trustees reads the resolution.
Thank you. Actually, Brian had volunteered to read that. So if you're still up for it.
I am totally up for that. And Billy, thank you for the, I mean, we see this every year and usually it's a little earlier in the evening and we get to talk a little bit more. I like the added little bit of the history. I don't remember seeing that before. So thank you for adding that. California Day of the Teacher and Teacher Appreciation Week. Whereas teachers personify our society's belief that universal public education is key to meeting the challenges of a changing world, and the influence of a good teacher continues long after school days are only memories. And whereas teachers demonstrate and share their love of learning in the classroom every day and fill many roles as listeners, explorers, role models, motivators, and mentors, and by doing so are partners with parents and the community in inspiring students' dreams and laying the foundation for them to be good citizens. And whereas teachers strive to make every classroom an exciting environment where productive and useful learning can take place, and each student is encouraged to grow and develop, and where teachers reach out to foster the well-being of each student, regardless of ability, social or economic background, race or ethnic origin, or religion. And whereas the board does applaud the unique and highly specialized skills and dedication required to meet the varied needs of the young people served by the district's instructional programs, and recognize that the quality of all students' educational experiences depends significantly and vitally upon the quality of their teachers who are entrusted with fulfilling the mission of education to prepare our students for the future. And now therefore be it resolved, the governing board of Pacific Grove Unified School District, that resolution 1104 be adopted to observe May 1st, 2023 through May 5, 2023 as Teacher Appreciation Week, and specifically May 10, 2023 as the California Day of the Teacher, by taking time to remember and salute the teachers who mold and educate our children, impact and enrich our lives, and thereby are critical to the constant transformation of our society.
Thank you, Trustee Brian Swanson. We need to vote on this, please. If we can have a motion.
May I make a comment?
Yes, of course. Let's do comments. Go ahead, Clerk McNary.
I just did a little background research. And I believe this year, Teacher Appreciation Week falls on May 8th through the 12th. The California Teachers Association lists it that way. I'm just curious if we're celebrating the right week.
Maybe because our board meeting weeks are.
When I looked it up, that was the week that I thought it was. So if I could be incorrect, I'm sorry.
I'm just, yeah.
They get their acknowledgement a week early, I guess. on
Okay.
this. Better than late, I would say.
Sure.
Because we've got our May 18th.
Yeah, or twice, right? Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
twice. Yeah.
Okay. Then I would be happy to make a motion to approve the resolutions for California Day of the Teacher and Teacher Appreciation Week.
I'll second. So a motion made by Clerk McNary, seconded by Carolyn Swanson. Mandy, if you don't mind.
President Swanson,
Aye.
Clerk McNary,
Aye.
Dr. Hazen,
Aye.
Trustee Otmar,
Aye.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to action item I, which Director Menke is hanging out up here for as well. So that's resolution number 1105, Classified School Employee Week. And if you would like to introduce it, and the board members would like to think about who would like to read it, if Brian can do it again, or if there's another board member who would like to volunteer, consider that while Director Menke is reading.
Okay, so this item we're proclaiming May 21st through the 27th as Classified School Employee Week. And a little bit of background, in 1986, California School Employees Association sponsored state legislation to create Classified School Employee Week. Since then, California Public Schools has taken 1 week each May to recognize the outstanding efforts and contribution of its classified school workers. This year, CSEA is celebrating the theme Classified Professionals, Indispensable, Inspiring, and Invincible. Classified school employees play crucial roles in education from the time students board a school bus to the time they head home at the end of the day. Every aspect of their educational experience is impacted by a classified school employee. Classified staff includes school bus drivers, secretaries, clerical staff, food service, instructional assistants, maintenance personnel, custodians, and others. Classified school employees transport students, feed students, teach them vital skills, and ensure that our schools are operating smoothly and safely. And we therefore recognize classified school employees by board resolution proclaiming Classified School Employee Week, May 21st through the 27th, 2023.
Thank you, Director Menke. Do we have a trustee who would like to read the Classified and School Employee Week resolution?
I'll do it.
Thank you, Trustee Otmar.
There's no one else offering. Resolution number 1105 proclaiming Classified School Employee Week, whereas the legislature of the state of California has declared that May 21st through 27th, 2023 shall be Classified School Employee Week, a time to recognize the many contributions of classified school employees to public education. And whereas the education of our youth is imperative to our society, to California, to our nation, our world. And whereas our district's classified school employees are skilled personnel who serve our students and play important roles in the establishment and promotion of a positive instructional environment. And whereas our classified staff are dedicated individuals who perform outstanding work and have continued to offer exceptional support for our students, teachers, and administration. Whereas our classified employees deserve rightful recognition and public celebration for their caring, their deeds, and the incalculable contributions they have made to California's public education system. Whereas our classified employees, often the unsung heroes, are respected educational partners, and this year have met and overcome challenges through inclement weather and school closures and have served our students and schools as essential workers. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Governing Board of Pacific Grove Unified School District that Resolution 1105 be adopted to observe Classified School Employee Week during the time of May 21st through 27th, 2023, as an opportunity to acknowledge the achievements and contributions of classified school employees in our system of public education.
Thank you, Trustee Otmar. And if any trustee has a comment or any member of the public has a comment, feel free to raise your hand or come up to the podium at this time. I don't see anyone online and I don't see anyone in person. So can we get a motion on this one, please? Unless the board member wanted to make a comment.
I'll make a really quick comment.
Sure.
I just, again, I think it's so important that we do this. When I think about the classified employees, and not always, but so often, you know, for those of us with kids in the district or in any district, classified employees, the first one they see when they get on campus and the last one they see when they leave, you know, and then this year in particular with down trees and flooding and all of that nonsense that we had to deal with. They were there and you didn't hear a complaint. It was just like, we got to make this stuff happen. We've got to make this physical plant run and safely too. So kudos to them. That's all.
Thank you, Trustee Brian Swanson. Can I get a motion on this item?
Also move.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Trustee Brian Swanson, seconded by Trustee Otmar. Mandy, please.
President Swanson.
Aye.
Clerk McNary.
Aye.
Dr. Hazen.
Aye, sorry, I was muted.
Trustee Otmar.
Aye.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Menke. Okay, next up, we have action item J, which is purchase of an 8-passenger vehicle for Pacific Grove Unified Adult Education Adults with Disabilities Program.
Thank you. Good evening, trustees, my esteemed colleagues. The district recommends that the board approve the purchase of an 8-passenger vehicle for the adults with disabilities program. Currently, we have 2 8-passenger vehicles. We have 18 students and about 9 on a wait list right now. Our students are traveling. They attend college classes. They also volunteer at the aquarium. We are balancing several different schedules, getting them out into the community and doing the good work that they do. So we've been in search for an 8-passenger vehicle for 2 years. We have budgeted it for 2 years consecutively and just not been able to find one due to supply chain issues. So we put a bid out for 6 dealerships. We got one that returned our phone call. We even had the dealership find a van or 2 in Michigan, but the cost to transport those vans were far outweighed, the benefits of it. So we did get one. So we're asking for you to approve the cost of this van at $50,000, just north of $50,000 to come out of Fund 11, already budgeted. Questions?
Thank you, Barbara. Trustee Otmar, you're first on the docket.
I have no questions. I'm glad you found the van. Right on.
A van on the peninsula. Like, I will tell you, I was on an outing on Sunday and I got a call from the dealership saying, we have a family here who wants to buy the van. And so I'm texting Josh, can we get this on a walk-on? Because if the family's going to get the van, wanted the van. So thank you, Josh.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Well, that family's just gonna have to find a different van. Glad you, I am, like, yeah.
Cutthroat.
Good job. Fund 11 Adult Ed, that money comes from the consortium too, does it not?
Comes
Or
from the state.
from the state? Okay, so great job.
Thank you.
Let's see, so I'll just make a quick comment because I asked in advance and I got an answer, but in case anyone noticed, number one, I grew up going to car dealerships haggling for prices with my father. So I'm always interested in vehicles that we're purchasing. And I saw the sticker price was $42,360, but the unit price they quoted us is actually $4,000 more. And apparently that's just because of supply and demand and because they can.
Well, yeah, and I explained in the email to you, his direct answer to you. But it's almost like going to bid for a house and you get caught in like a bidding war and they can get that. It also costs more for the manufacturer to get it to the dealership. And as he mentioned, many dealerships are right now changing hands. They're going, they're just new owners are coming in because they just can't handle the cost increases.
So, so the van has a premium on it for sure, but it has been budgeted and sounds like it is needed. So, that was my comment in case anybody was curious why we're paying so much more than the sticker price, because usually you negotiate down from the sticker price and now we're paying more than the sticker price, but I'm going to be okay with that. So
And I wouldn't expect that to change. It's only going to stay that way.
my goodness. Trustee Dr. Hazen.
Yep, no questions. Congrats on finding the van.
Clerk McNary.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, so let's go out to public comment and see if we have any members of the public online or in person who would like to say anything. We only have PGUSD staff here in person, and we don't have anyone online who is looking to comment, I should clarify. And so with that, can we get a vote, can we get a motion?
Also move. Or
Okay.
I'll second.
Brian has moved on staff's recommendation and
Trust a second. Oh, I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Did
I
you-
will second the motion Brian just made. on
Oh,
Staff's recommendation.
too late. Dr. Hazen already did. I
Oh.
think.
Okay.
Dr. Hazen, did you?
withdraw my comments.
Dr. Hayes.
I did, but I'm happy. Either way is fine with me.
Okay. Yeah, we'll give it to you. Okay. You have earned it, Dr. Hazen. You're online. Okay, so motion made by trustee Brian Swanson and second made by Dr. Elliot Hazen. Mandy, please.
President Swanson,
Aye.
Clerk McNary,
Aye.
Dr. Hazen,
Aye.
Trustee Otmar,
Aye.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much, Principal Martinez. Okay, next up is, it's 9:58. So can we make a motion? According to my calculations, we're gonna need to be here until, probably not until 11, but we should make the motion to 11 so that we don't accidentally end up running out of time. So I make a motion that we extend our meeting until 11 PM tonight. Can I get a second?
I will second that.
Thank you for the reluctant second. I appreciate it. Okay, motion made by Carolyn Swanson, seconded by trustee Otmar. Mandy, if you don't mind.
President Swanson,
Aye.
Clerk McNary,
Aye.
Dr. Hazen,
Aye.
Trustee Otmar,
Aye.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Motion passes unanimously. So now we're on to, as I mentioned, action item K, board calendar, future meetings. Trustee Brian Swanson, any comments on this item?
I have none. Nope.
Okay, thank you. I'm next. Ooh, sorry about that. I'm next on the list for comments, and actually I yanked out the page from the Leadership Associates timeline because they've got dates for meetings that we need to set so that we can hit the right deadlines, and they actually have their timeline. They're hoping to have a new superintendent begin in July. So if we want to follow this timeline, we'll do our best, right? We're going to take our time and do it right. So, but I'll submit this to staff, and then you can plug these items into the calendar, and then that will come up for approval at the next meeting. I don't see anybody against that, so that's good. And we approved that earlier, so. And the other thing I had for future meetings is to add, okay. Can we add the SRO contract to the, you know how we have our little bullet points on our meetings? Can we add that to January or February? And then we'll keep track of it.
Yeah, up to the board, however you like to do it.
Yeah, if anyone's super against it, let me know.
You want any meeting in January?
Yeah, maybe like the second one in January.
I know that Mandy's listening, so we can take the first one in January.
First one,
Executive
no
decision.
problem.
Feasible that they'll respond well to that request to dig into it earlier.
I don't know. That's a good question. We'll have to ask.
I guess we'll find out.
I think would be a good time for us to interface with them in the winter.
Right.
Looking for something in the early part of January, and then if we can bring it back, we can.
Awesome.
Okay, that's all I had for my comments on that item. So we're going to move on to Dr. Hazen. Do you have anything for future meetings?
No, I have something for the agenda items, so that's coming later. I think.
Okay, Clerk McNary.
I think you covered the superintendent search additional meetings. Another question I had is if the board wants to do a self-evaluation, when we should plug that in. And the other question is, if the board was interested in doing any type of governance follow-up study session in the next couple months, or building those like quarterly into the calendar, or some other, I guess, more consistent schedule if we're going to want study sessions for things. But I guess maybe that's a decision.
The calendar item.
Calendar related item.
I think so. Yeah, I think that falls under calendar.
So if anyone else is interested, those are a couple ideas for meetings that would need to be added. And those would be more like special meetings, study session dedicated specifically to the board as a governance team, or the board self-eval with a facilitator, or any other topic that would be better to go in depth and have that kind of time for. So.
Yeah, we were going to set a self-evaluation meeting at some point. So does anybody want to toss out and like kind of have a discussion on when you would like the next study session? Are you thinking fall? Because summer is going to be gobbled up by Leadership Associates, I believe. So
Yeah, fall would be great.
Okay, the rest of the board, are you okay with fall doing a special meeting? Okay, Laura's nodding her head. Elliot's got his hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, just quickly. Well, no, I am in support. I do have one more item, but I'll come back to it when this one is
Oh,
done.
okay, okay, good.
Just remember.
Okay, so fall time, Jen, when do you want staff to pick something in fall so we can have it and move it if we need to?
I don't know, September.
Okay.
I don't have a specific date. I'm not picky. August, September, October, whatever fits best into schedules to be able to.
Yeah, I think August or September. I think September is good because August, like that
It's a
whole
busy-
month is just
yeah.
consuming, kind of like May is consuming.
Yeah, okay.
For school folks.
September feels reasonable, maybe an off week or a date that works for the whole board.
Yeah. And do we want to plug in more along with policy, the guidance of policy? Do we want to plug in and have 2 meetings, one on the first and third Thursday?
I mean, that's my preference. I think the only month missing that going forward with the new school year is December. It looks like we have 2 scheduled in August, September, October, and November for the rest of this year.
Okay.
Um,
So maybe we want to add another one in December because
December,
only-
yeah, and our December meeting is busy because it's budget meeting and then organizational
Organization,
meeting and
yeah.
all of that. So might be worth having one the first week.
Okay, and according to the policy guidance, we're supposed to or can, I guess, have one. It says meetings should be held on the first and third Thursday of each month from August through June. So July is, according to policy, like a month that we don't typically have meetings, although not this year.
Just a quick comment on the early December, that is CSBA, if I remember correctly. The conference that we sometimes go to, so it might be hard to get a meeting at the same time.
Yeah, I wrote that down. I actually think I have that in I can't believe I'm the one with the calendar stuff. I think I wrote that in December.
December 2.
Yeah, December 1, 2, and 3. Or maybe, November 30 and December 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Do we need anything else on that? Okay. Clerk McNary, Trustee Otmar, anything on this calendar?
No, the only thing that I was looking to add was the board self-evaluation, but you talked about that. So
Oh, okay, good. Trustee Brian Swanson.
No.
Okay.
Not in addition to what we've already talked about.
Okay, thank you all for being willing to add some meetings because I'm hoping we all agree that less meetings that are shorter are more beneficial for all. So if we try to kind of have that, what is my?
More meetings that are shorter instead of less meetings that are shorter.
This is why, yes.
It's after 10 PM.
Thank
so
you.
We all have to.
More meetings that are shorter instead of fewer meetings that we're scrambling to get done late at night. And then this happens. Okay, thank you. Yes.
One more quick question, if I could, sorry. Please tell me, President Carolyn, if I should wait for this for the future agenda item, but one item that I wanted to bring up is, we've had a lot of talks, whether it's about the topic of reconfiguration or equity among the school sites. Is that something we want to do as a special meeting, or is that something I could propose we consider doing as a special meeting sometime in the fall as well? Just where we kind of compare what that means to us as a board and how we want to best address that. So it's not something that's kind of hanging over our heads, or do we feel we have too much on our agenda now to do that?
That's a really good question. I'm going to look at staff for what they think on that. It's borderline, to me, it's borderline like a district goal or a superintendent goal. But I don't think we have our goals on the calendar. So go ahead. I'm sorry, Ralph.
I think it would probably be good to have a special meeting or within the meeting to talk about the topic, just because it has come up pretty regularly.
Yeah.
Again, even if it's a goal, a superintendent goal, still gonna need feedback from the board in regards to kind of direction.
Mhm.
So it's probably worth that effort, but
And are you thinking a town hall forum or?
well, my guess would be just from looking in hindsight, I wouldn't start with a town hall. I would start with just discussion, and maybe it's a discussion at a regular board meeting, just in terms of laying out direction. We want to talk about these data points, these issues. We want to set up a town hall meeting, but you may want to gauge that first in a board when you have the opportunity to discuss it in terms of how you'd like to track that. Because it's really the direction is going to come from the board in regards to where you'd like to see, where you'd like to direct staff, the superintendent to direct staff to go.
Elliot, does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's why I wasn't sure whether to bring it up as a future agenda item, but that's exactly what I was thinking, is that it would be good for us to discuss exactly what permutations we want of equity, because there's a lot of ways to interpret that word: financial, basic needs, et cetera. So I do like the idea that as you laid it out, superintendent for us.
So you're going to do what with that idea, Elliot? You're gonna submit it as a
yes.
future. Okay.
I will submit that as a future agenda item via the form.
Okay, good. Thank you. And I was asking because I wasn't clear, not because I thought you weren't clear. I was just trying to clarify for myself. So, okay, great. Thank you for submitting that. Any public comment on the calendar? I don't see any public comment on the calendar at all. Trustees, I'm just going to look around. Anybody have anything further on that item? No. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve. Well, I'm going to approve the calendar that's in there right now. And then at the next meeting, we will have some other things on the calendar. So I make a motion to approve calendar as is.
Second.
Thank you. A motion made by
We-
Carolyn Swan.
Sorry to interrupt, but if we're not changing anything, I don't think we need to approve anything, do we?
No, no, you wouldn't need to, but yeah.
I feel like there was something that we changed in it, maybe not.
We talked about adding
a
an
few meetings.
additional special meeting in September
Mhm.
Yeah, also the first week of December.
and then also the first.
And
week.
adding the SRO bullet point in January.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are all.
So with those
changes.
changes.
So with those changes, so that's my fault because I shouldn't have said as is. I think that's where the confusion came in. So I'll make a motion to. Do we have to flesh out the earlier motion because it's on the board and you made a second? I think we have to, Ralph, I think we have to vote on the motion that I first made because Laura seconded it.
She did second it. That's right. So, yeah. Yeah, you'll need to.
So we have to
either-
vote on it. So everyone just say no to it and then I'll try again.
Don't tell me how to vote.
Okay, you vote how you want to. Okay, Mandy, sorry, roll call on this nonsense motion that I initially made and then I'll make a better one.
President Swanson,
No.
Clerk McNary,
No.
Dr. Hazen,
Yes, I liked it.
Turkey.
Trustee Otmar,
No.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
All right,
No.
motion fails. With one person saying yes, which is trustee Elliot Hazen. So, okay, I make a motion to adopt the board calendar with the changes that we set forth to staff.
I will second that.
Thank you. Motion made by Carolyn Swanson, seconded by trustee Otmar. Mandy, I'm sorry.
That's okay. President Swanson,
Aye.
Clerk McNary,
Aye.
Dr. Hazen,
No,
Trustee Otmar,
Aye.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion passes with one dissenter, Elliot Hazen. Thank you so much. Okay. All right, moving on to information discussion. So review of updated administrative regulations. Mr. Jordan, this is your item. I will say briefly, this item was on the agenda before, so the board and the public have had two chances to kind of read over it in the packet.
Well, if that's you telling me that I don't need to go through the entire document, we have until 11.
Let's get at no.
So we did not have an administrative regulation tied to 3300, which is the expenditures and purchasing. So this is a newly developed administrative regulation. Also 3311 for bids was amended. And I believe I also had safety, the AR for disaster preparedness, which is AR 3516. Was amended to kind of fall in line with our current emergency and disaster preparedness plan. It also aligns with the county consortium's plan. So with that, I will entertain any questions.
Thank you so much. Actually, I did want to point out that the regulation 3300 expenditures and purchasing, that one actually addressed a concern that I think maybe multiple staff members had. So thank you for bringing that forward. That's on page 215 of the packet. And we actually don't vote on this because this is an administrative regulation. And but I would encourage any staff member who has questions about the process of getting reimbursed or making a district expenditure to read it over. And just to review quickly, administrative regulations are kind of what's a weird analogy? They're the details of policy, and they line out how staff will fulfill the policy. So, okay. So any comments from Clerk McNary on this?
Thank you for your work, for creating them. I love systems that don't require people, so I appreciate having this stuff in place.
Yeah, systems are it.
Yeah.
We love systems. Trustee Otmar.
I have no comment. Thank you.
Trustee Brian Swanson.
No comment, thank you.
Okay, I don't have any comments. Trustee Dr. Hazen.
No comment, thanks.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go out to the public to see if anyone has a comment on this. Nobody online and nobody here in person is making a move. So thank you. Thank you for filling this gap that we had. Please continue to fill them. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's actually kind of exciting. Okay, next info discussion item B, California School Board Association policy updates. This was the batch that came to us in September 2022. And the reason that we are kind of in arrears on this is because it's a new system. So we're working out the tweaks, and we have a policy committee, which is myself and Clerk McNary, and we read these policies along with staff, and we meet and we discuss. And at the last policy meeting, which is our second one, the first time in a very long time for the district, I thought it was incredible. Lito Garcia came with all these, in my opinion, great ideas for a policy. Claire Davies was there. She had read hers thoroughly. She had recommendations. Barbara Martinez was there. Everyone came prepared, and I don't know how, there was maybe 9 or 11 of us in this room working through all these. And so now they're here in the packet for the board to approve, and we're going to catch up so that eventually these will not be in arrears any longer. Any board questions on these? Trustee Otmar?
I have no no questions. Thank you for taking the time, everybody, to come together and do this.
The staff put a lot of time into it.
thank
Even
you.
Mandy, she organizes the whole thing. She
Mandy.
comes and gets all the direction. It was pretty cool. Trustee Brian Swanson.
No questions, thank you.
Okay, I don't have any questions. Trustee Dr. Hazen.
Thank you all for doing this. No questions.
Okay. Any member of the public wanting to talk to us about this latest policy update, please raise your hand digitally online. Thank you all for all the people who are still online, because not everyone is a staff member online. So I appreciate members of the public and staff who are continuing to watch. Clerk McNary, do you have anything to say?
No. I agree with your comments. I thought our discussion with staff was really productive and informative for me. And just for tonight, we're just reviewing these, and then they will come back on the consent agenda. Is that correct? We're not approving anything?
Exactly right.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you for your comment. So with that, and we've already asked for public comment, I'm comfortable moving on to info item C, if the rest of the board is comfortable with that. And I'm seeing that they are. So future agenda items. Future agenda items. Man, we haven't gotten to this item in a couple meetings. So I'll start with Trustee Brian Swanson.
So what I'm looking at here right now, and a couple of questions, I guess. Teacher of the Year recognition, is that something we're still looking? It's been lingering there forever.
We can take it away tonight if you like.
I would love to take that away. And to reiterate, it's like, I don't want to single out one teacher. We have so many amazing teachers. I don't want to just say, here you go, and leave a whole bunch of others out. So yeah, I would love to get rid of that.
Okay, I agree. Laura's nodding. McNary's nodding. Elliot, we've got 4 over here, so, okay, you're nodding. So now we have 5. Okay. All right, so we're gonna delete that. Anything else, Brian?
I'm just happy to see that board site visits is on there. I would hope that, I mean, I always loved doing that. My concern about it, whatever we do with it, is that it's not putting too much pressure on the sites to do something other than for us to be there. They've got, everybody's got so much to do anyway. I just like to be there. And it brings other people there that maybe they haven't been at that site ever or for a long time. And I just don't want everybody on site to feel the pressure like it's showtime for them. That's my only concern about reviving them, but I did always really enjoy those.
The only thing, I mean, I fully agree. And I remember when there used to be site visits, before COVID, and it was, there were t-shirts for the trustees. There was a performance by the school children. Their teachers were there late, all of that. It's definitely a resource heavy, right? That night for everybody. What do we do though, if we go to a site and they're like, can we present our poetry team to you? Do we say no? Because then the slippery slope begins of like, well, then the next school goes, well, maybe we should do the choir for you. And then I don't know how to.
I mean, I would recommend that we just make that message clear that, hey, you don't have to do it. We just want to see your place.
Okay. Like essentially we're just using your site.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's already, you make a very good point too. Being there already is an extra burden because people feel pressured to then also be there. And it does make it a little bit trickier for us because now we're allowing, we have 26 people still online at this point, and we'd have to do something. Maybe it's audio only. I don't know if we can do a visual Zoom. We probably can. But again, my biggest concern, and I really do want to hear what Buck has to say about it, because you've been in so many trenches that what do you think?
Yes, tell us.
Sure. I think the most valuable visit that you will do is if you can take time out of your workday to come by school when school is in session. I think that the greatest way to honor the work of the teachers and the classified staff who we had the resolutions about was to come and actually see them in action. That's really the best way to get a flavor for the school. I think that no matter how hard you try to say it's just going to be a venue, every school is going to want to welcome the board to the school, and with that is going to come pressure. And just among the site admin, I know that there's always kind of well, it's not a competition. It's just that whoever goes first, you can't do less than what that person did.
All right.
Right. So, well, you just don't want to be seen as the school that didn't care. And so there is that pressure there. I know that it winds up being one of the nights that staff attends, and the fewer nights that we can have staff responsible for being out, the better the quality of life for staff is. And so if part of the purpose that the board has of wanting to go to the sites is to show your appreciation for the site, go during the day and visit and watch them do the amazing work of educating our children. That's my only advice. Of course, I'm no longer at a site.
Can I comment back then?
Sure.
Too?
Sure.
You're right. I think I'm wrong. And for the second time tonight, I'm going to flip my opinion on something. So I'd actually like to get rid of the board site visits and just spend more time on
There is one,
campuses.
and let me ask you.
Well, if Mr. Keller feels differently, I would hate.
I would love for staff to discuss this more. Well, or you're on your way out. It's okay.
Can I just clarify? I actually was the one who brought the board site visits, and what I envisioned was more of what I had seen, what I had heard about at a training. And what that board did was on the day of their board meeting, they kind of did a walking tour. And rather than having something set up in an area, it was like walk with the principal and the board. It was open to the public, but then the principal or the site administrator would just walk the board through the site and highlight whatever they wanted to. And we could even do it as something where we start our meeting early at Robert Down at 4 o'clock. And then we come back over to boardroom for the rest of the open session here. But one of the main purposes for me for the site visits was getting to tour some of the Measure D improvements. So I thought if we just walked through rather than had everybody doing a bunch of extra work for our arrival, because I don't want that at all. I much prefer being at the sites in the way Mr. Rogaman described. That's kind of what I was looking at, not the fanfare, not the competition, not the pressure.
Okay, not the show, but
Just a very simple and as low key as possible. I mean, welcome, open, it would be open to the public because it would be all 5 of us walking around with the principal, but it kind of gives a more casual, informal atmosphere.
thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, I don't know if that helps at all with the work, all that goes into.
I think it does. I
one
mean,
of
that
those
was
nights,
kind of,
but-
thank you, because I think we were going right and you
Yeah,
were left on.
I
that,
was
so.
thinking left when I brought this agenda item forward, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, and there is one aspect of the site visits that does have value, and it's that the kids then know we exist. Like it's a form of outreach, but I'm not saying we can't find another form of outreach that doesn't make everybody stay up past their bedtimes for a late night. So anyways, yeah, Measure D, so board site visits, and then we could put in parentheses like Measure D, then I think we would remember. Yeah, and we can definitely, as a public body, go and visit. We cannot discuss. And then we can come back here, which continues our great access to the public that we have going on right now with our cameras and our Zoom and everything. So it makes it so that the public can still access our meetings in the same way they're used to. Go ahead, Dr. Porras.
I was just going to comment that actually, interestingly enough, on the first Measure D back in 08, 09, the board did exactly what you're talking about. So when the new music building was going up, they walked that spot. When the stadium was going up, we walked that spot. When the small gym and dance room were being built, we walked that spot. So that did happen in the past. It was pretty successful. It was only about an hour.
Mhm.
The board meetings were conducted on that site, but you can easily have, you can pull it back over here afterwards. It's not, in fact, if you want to meet here, we can even, have a district van available and then we'll just pile in and just go.
Honda van.
Yeah. Or the new Ford van, that we just got, wherever it is.
The
Yeah.
Honda. That's what I'm saying, but Barb's gone.
Sorry.
We're
Anyway.
thinking the same thing over there. Okay. Thank you. Elliot's patiently had his hand went down. Never mind. Okay.
No, well, I was just gonna add a little qualification that I think that we might want to, if we're gonna do a Measure D site visit, it might be good to have the board come up with other things they might want to see, hopefully without much tasking on the staff, so that we're not doing multiple of these, because there might be other things that would be, particularly like, oh, I really think it'd be important to revisit the music room at Robert Down, because I know that's been an issue, for example.
I feel like those may be things that if we have like interests as individual board members, that might be an opportunity for us to like go check out the Robert Down Music Room. But I think as far as if we're going to a site and it's all of us, I would rather leave it up to that site admin to show us what they would like about their site or highlight what they would like about our site.
Yeah, leave it up to the admin.
Yeah, leave it up to the admin.
Sure.
Less of us telling them what to do and allowing them
And
to.
maybe they, and being fully clear, if there is something on their site that, I mean, does that get tricky? If if there's something on their site that they've really been wanting us to see, maybe it's something that's dilapidated, maybe it's something that's really great. It's up to them.
Sure.
And it's a neutral situation where we want to know, they don't have to hide things that are dilapidated. They don't have to hide things that are. Okay.
Yeah.
So Elliot, I think to your point, I think inevitably we will see things on the campus. And I don't know if we have to organize it necessarily because the staff member will be touring. Trustee Otmar, did you have something?
I did, but I can ask offline.
Okay.
So
I wanted to add something to the agenda item, which is actually adding an agenda item on the agenda that we, how am I going to say this? Essentially that we add,
Very meta.
gosh, essentially that we add in the public comment section, a comment. Ralph, I see you laughing at me. Come on, Carolyn. Okay, we add a section for the public comment for PGTA and we add one for CSEA, but we can't just do that. We need to talk about it as a board before we can add it, or can we just add it?
Just clarifying question.
Please.
At the beginning, you're referring to in communications when we have PGUSD staff comments in that time, right?
Yes.
So that was intended to cover pretty much all staff. Originally, the original design was that it was intended for the admin team members who were going to present something that evening, or they needed special time for presentation, but it turned into all staff, which was just fine. But that's really intended for all staff, any staff member to come up and speak.
Yes, I know. I think it would be I think it would be a good idea to add B or add A PGTA comments, B CSEA comments, and then C PGSG staff comments, and then B community members.
So yeah, I would suggest that if you want to agendize it as future agenda item, then it'd be
We need to agendize it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
you want to
we
agendize
need to
it.
agendize that
Yeah.
for the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or so I think some to the effect of organization of the agenda or something to that effect.
Yes. Okay, I would like to do that. I think it would be a good step forward in making sure that that both of the unions, I know that they know that they're welcome to do public comment, but I think that it's a warm invitation to have them have a spot on the agenda. So that's my reasoning behind it. If anyone is, especially if the majority of the board is extremely against it, please let me know and then we won't do it. But I guess we will first have it on the agenda and you can tell me then if you don't want to do it. So with that, I don't see any public comment. So please do raise your hand if you would like to comment on our future agenda items. Oh, I did. I think I can bring this up right now. For the folks who have requested agenda items, I sent an email and you probably wrote me back, but I can't remember. Making sure that Ralph's office was going to, that your office was going to follow up with folks who had submitted agenda items and make sure that if their agenda item was going to be referred to staff, that they knew that. Make sure that if their agenda item is going to be on May 18th, that they know that, just to have that warm connection so they don't feel like it went into an abyss type of thing.
Well, we'll check, we'll double back on that.
Okay. With that, anyone have anything left? It's 10:31. I think we're going to get out of here by 10:32, which doesn't mean that we don't want to do the public's business, but I think the public's business is now completed for this agenda. Anybody has anything? Buck, you're the lone soldier. Thank you for staying until the end. 10:31, meeting adjourned.
That's good.